Oh, you can't see me. Can you
Okay,
hear me?
let's try that again.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
just all I did was I just
That's so
refreshed it or
funny.
whatever. I was like,
That's so funny.
I don't know. Yeah.
Then I'm gonna hit. There we go. There we go. Now
Hey,
it's going again. Yeah, I hit
uh,
new recording, and
it was
so it
like,
like
ah!
messed with everything.
I
But
was like, how dare
okay.
you,
Oh, you
sir?
want to
How
quit?
dare
Okay.
you?
hmm Oh,
Mm,
dare you, sir? Oh, there's
mm.
something in Scrubs, but I think he says bad word.
Um, all right.
Word that didn't
So,
recorded.
as we sort of like this
Hmm
is just going to be like we have our topic. It's going to be like just sort of a bit of a general form, like maybe talk about like top 100 potential candidates, maybe a little more in depth on the backlog report stuff, kind of like whatever. Also
hmm
the new segments, the personal challenges and the
New
best
segments.
question. Now the best question is pretty
Yep.
much like I want to find a different um terminology, because that's like I told you, I sort of like ripped that off of MinMax. um and what I'd like to do, honestly,
Gotcha.
is
Yeah,
if we
yeah,
get sort
yeah.
of
hmm
enough traction, we could start doing like little like swag, like maybe get some stickers made or something, like send like a little swag kit and like a gift card
hmm
or something, um, to like just whatever, like But I
hmm
figure for now we'll just sort of we could just PayPal or get them a gift card or something.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so I was thinking.
Something easy. Okay, I'm gonna cut in for just a second. This is the first thing that popped into my head. You can shoot it down if you want to. What is your
Mm,
question?
what is it?
That's what popped into my head.
Yeah. What is your quest,
I don't
Shen?
know how you write that out. But
Yeah. What?
just,
Yeah. No.
I don't
Hey,
know.
if that works for you, man. Um.
I was just saying quest stuck out to me, and I was like, okay, how can you use quest? We're
We could
video
we could we
gamers
could
here.
call it the
We're all
vision
gamers. We're
question.
real gamers.
um.
Yeah, we could do some
Let's
peyote and
let's
jump on Twitter.
go on a vision question. Let's not do that. That sounds Vision
I
Quest.
actually didn't know what that was until
Mm.
recently, like within the past couple years. Yeah. Yeah, because it popped up. It was in the last, no, not the last Shin Megami Tensei game that I played, because that was 5. But the one before that that I played was the one that was, I think it was on Sega Saturn. The um, oh my gosh, it's got so many dang subtitles and all that. But it's the one that's the
Oh,
sequel is
Soul
coming out
Hackers.
soon. So what is it called? Yes, 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 yes. Yeah, Soul Hackers. In that one, um, you do these things called vision quests where like the spirit guides you on this other thing. And then it popped up in some like
Well,
movie or something.
there's
Maybe it was
there's
like a
a
Stephen
think
King
I think a
movie or
movie
something.
about wrestling
I'm
called
like,
Vision
oh,
Quest. But I don't know. I
okay,
don't.
gotcha.
But
Got it.
so
Anyway,
no.
sorry, I totally derailed us
Yeah.
with the quest.
Well,
But
we'll come up with
anyways,
I'll ruminate on the what is your question. Um, that might work.
sure.
We'll see. Well, we don't have to get too attached to anything right now. Um,
No,
no, that's
nope.
that's that's. I mean,
That
it's
was just
not that's
spitballing
not a
first
bad
thing.
not a bad place to start. So might be a decent place to end. But as far as the personal challenges, and I was thinking we could sort of like tag these on towards the end. So as we
Yes.
sort of wrapping up,
Okay.
because okay, so like the best question thing comes from MinMax, and what they do is they read like listen, they have like 2 or 3 questions that they
hmm
get from listeners, and then they ask the questions, they answer the questions. Like it's like
Okay.
a 15-minute bit, and then whoever's on the show, whoever's on the cast that day, like they're like what gets best question, and then whoever wins best question gets like some sort of like free swag thing, like it's like whether it's like I
Okay.
don't know. I think it was like one of the times I was listening, it was like they got like the Muppet movie soundtrack on vinyl. because it had been recently re-released by like limited run or something. So I was like, yo, that's super dope actually. Like
Nice.
um so I don't know if we'll ever like
Nice.
go that hard, but I was like, if we did like a little something
Mhm.
like,
Mhm.
sort of like stuff like that, maybe just
Yeah.
um for our Canadian listeners, I don't know what we're going to do there cuz like the prime minister is a tyrant and makes it really hard for us to do business. As far as like the personal challenge thing, I figured we could sort of, and we'll
Mhm.
work that, but again, it's sort of towards the end. We could sort of work that in there somewhere, and it just be like honestly, I think for me, the one I'm gonna sort of like say is like, okay, over the next 2 weeks, what I'm really gonna do is make an effort to sort of as a bit of like, I'm probably gonna like bounce off of like, I'm gonna do the shout out because John um, posted John O posted a couple of articles, and the one was about like journaling, writing as a spiritual discipline.
Yes.
And so for me, it's
Mhm.
like I've,
Mhm.
like I want to just start like take 5-10 minutes a day, like, and like meditate on scripture and then journal that and then journal like a prayer, like, like, so that's like, I'm just gonna like say like, hey, shoot for like 10-15, and that the whole point is like something small and actionable. Like I was actually thinking about like, hey, because I'm starting to put weight
Yes.
back on because I haven't been counting my calories. Like I'm just gonna get back on the calorie counting train and try not to get back up to 230 because that's
Mhm.
not a healthy weight for me. you know, it's like I was looking at pictures of me from
Yeah.
camp, and I was like, "Ooh, Nate, we're putting on weight here, bud."
Mhm.
Like I was really expecting to shed it. So,
Yeah.
um, but
Mhm. I've felt like that for like the past year before I went
well, and
hard,
it's like
before I started going
I
hard.
did it for like 4 months,
So
and it's like I dropped
it's
like
great.
20 pounds,
It's
and I
great.
felt great.
Mhm.
I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And then I hit like 200, and I was like, okay, like we can ease up. And it's like, no, you need to like maintain. And so it's just like that's a discipline, but it's like it can be
Mhm.
something as
Yep.
little as that. Like it can be like, hey, you know what? Like, so
Mhm.
that's kind of where I was going. So, and we'll just but and then the whole thing is
Totally.
with a personal challenge.
Dig it.
So like that can be a bit of a jumping in point too when we get into like the it's been section. So like it'll be like one of those things. It's
Yes.
like, so next time we record, like you can be like, so Nate, how how did your journaling go for the last couple of weeks? And we can sort of like, bounce off that or
Mhm.
sort of roll off that. That's kind of what I have envisioned. I have vision casted that.
Nice.
That's actually that's the reason
There
I
you
don't
go.
like the term vision casting is because it sounds fruity and kind of lame,
Mhm.
but it's like it sounds like a like try like a trumped up like a churched up version of Vision Quest where it's like we can
Vision quest at casting.
instead of questing for visions, we're gonna cast them. And I'm like,
Yes.
um, but
Oh, man.
so whose turn is it?
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
who started. Who
I'll
you've got a
open
bit?
because I've got a
Okay, all right,
tiny
dude.
little bit.
And then yeah,
But yes,
so
a tiny one. It it will
oh,
be
I
sure
like
to
it.
disappoint. All right, and now for the part that
Well,
Paul
he hates
hates,
it
where we play
because when he
the
watches it in
intro at
video,
normal
yeah.
speed. Right, when he's on. Yeah, I get it. It just makes me laugh every time. Oh, this reminds me of a terrible song I heard earlier today. I'll talk about that in the brohang. And we're back. That's right, because we've been away for the past few episodes. Well, the both of us have been away. I'm your host, Josh, and I have my co-host here. Or I
We
guess I'm the
co-host.
co-host. You're the co-host. We're
We
both
it's like,
co-hosts.
some people
There's
co-parent, we co-host. Um
There you
Ugh.
go. We're co-parents of this podcast. We both
Uh,
birthed
I
together.
like it. I like that we're like 5 seconds into it and you made it weird, buddy. You made I mean, maybe
Oh,
I made it
it's
weird.
true.
Um, and you just were like,
Super
"Let's make
weird.
it weirder." Um,
Yeah, yeah, because co-parenting
mm,
and then just both two-person birth, that's what happens here, and now it's we're birthing it
this
into your
is the
ears,
worst.
into your ear
The
canal.
worst.
And if you're a patron, you'll get the
Oh,
afterbirth as
dude.
well. Might need to cut that. Oh my god.
Radio edit.
Why did I say
Oh
that?
my goodness. Oh, well, uh, uh, this is the backlog breakdown, and we are back. And it has,
Whoa! Yes.
the potential title that I was throwing around was, it's been more than 2 weeks, since I talked to you. But
It's
yeah, I
true.
just kind of, last episode, you, uh, yeah, words
Last
are
episode with
like
Wes and Paul.
to borrow like Nate Talk Pretty,
Mhm.
words are hard kind of vibe, right? That's
Mhm.
but yeah,
Yep.
Paul and Wes, they
Mhm.
recorded some content, and so last episode was them, and I was out of town, and yeah, so it just and it kind of worked out well, I think, pretty well. I listened to it; it was fun.
Yeah.
Those two got into some shenanigans. I think Paul especially was like
Mhm.
bent on like seeing if he could get us like deplatformed from iTunes or something. Um,
That's right. You got the patron
a
version of
little
it.
bit of it.
I did a little bit of
And
editing.
it's like occasionally it's like, Paul, I don't need your help. I can be pretty yeah, not PC, I guess is the term I would use. All on my own, buddy. All on
Mhm.
my own.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. But yeah, man. So it has been
Yeah.
it's been a hot minute, dude. Yeah. So
Mhm. Mhm.
2 fortnights,
2
dude,
fortnights.
and we have
What do you
I
call
think
that? I don't know.
Ocho nights? Yeah.
Ocho nights.
Well,
No.
yeah. Yeah, 'cause I don't know. Yeah. 8
No,
crazy
it's 4 to
nights.
14, so
But it's been
yeah,
more than 8 crazy nights.
that's a thing.
Man, it just we are already just falling apart. This is gonna be so good. Such good radio.
Grasping at straws.
So much wow. Um
I love it. Much wow, very podcast. So, Nate, since it's been so long, what have you been up
um
to? Why were you out of town? Huh? Why
I
you skipping
think you're
town
asking
running from
me
the law?
about how it's been, more than 2 weeks since I talked to you. Um,
Yes. And
and oh, that's right. That's
undisclosed amount of
it's
time since I
been an
talked to
undisclosed amount of time
you.
since I talked to you. So yeah, dude. So the reason I was, and I was not skipping town. I was out on vacation for a couple of weeks, and the 1 week I kind of,
Mhm.
I wouldn't say wasted, but I would say, and we'll talk about this in my backlog report, but I did not, I mean, I played a lot of a very particular game, uh, did not probably get a whole lot of other things accomplished that I probably should have. But I do think it was kind of one of those things where
Nice.
it was, I don't want to say necessary, but I think it was a good sort of like little refresher. And then the second week of vacation,
Mhm.
uh, a friend of mine is he's one of the coordinators for an OPC summer camp, a week long summer camp out in Slippery Rock, Pennsylvania. It's like an hour and 2 hours maybe from us. It's more western
Okay.
Pennsylvania, and it was for the Ohio Presbytery of the Presbytery of Ohio for the OPC. Um, and it was
Gotcha.
awesome. And I had a ton of fun, and I kind of really want to do it again next year if possible. Yeah, it was.
Nice.
Now, all that being said, apparently, it, Well,
They
some of
don't
those
want you back,
parents might not
but
want me back
I'm kidding.
because
I'm kidding.
they do a skit night, and the boys in my cabin, and this is what kind of like, just not to get too far down like the rabbit hole here, right? But the boys in my cabin, and it was all them, right?
Mhm,
They come up to me and they're like, "We want to do a Breaking Bad parody." And I've got like 13, 14, 15, and 16-year olds. And I'm like, dude, how do you guys even know what Breaking Bad is? One,
mhm.
that show's like 10 years old, and none of you should
Oh,
know what this is. And anyways, so they kind of came up with a skit, and they ran it, and it was a little like edgy, kind of like, but it's like they're teenage boys. And it was like there were a couple lines that I was like, okay, cut this, like don't do this. But I thought for the most part it
mhm,
was pretty tame. And my buddy came back to me. He's like, well, he's like, I got a few complaints, and one of them was that a cabin, which you probably are familiar with. I said the skit, and he was like, yeah, there were some parents who were really upset that these boys parodied Breaking Bad. And I said, well, I said, to be fair, I said, one, that was all them. I already told them that they shouldn't know what Breaking Bad was. And I said, so maybe take that up with the boys' parents, not me. I don't know. Um, but
mhm.
yeah, I mean, other than that, dude, it was super cool. Super, super, super cool. I had such a good time. And what's kind of weird is
Nice.
because and it's some of a reflection on like Presbyterian and like, capital R Reformed polity and ecclesiology, is that we tend to be, or ecclesiology more than polity, but we tend to be very like a very strong emphasis on like Lord's Day, gather with the saints, the sacraments, so, baptism and the Lord's Supper, and prayer and preaching of the word. And it's like those are like the big things. We're like,
Mhm,
do this. This is the only thing you need. And it really is like the only thing you need. But honestly, and I would just say like, and maybe it's like a little bit of a camp high, but I had some really cool conversations with some of these dudes, some of these young guys. I was able to challenge them, encourage them, and I think hopefully have like some sort of like meaningful impact. And maybe I didn't. Maybe it's all like in my head, but I had such a blast. And it was like it was equal parts like just being silly and goofy and having fun and being able to just like sort of meaningfully like sort of echo gospel truths into these kids' lives. And it's like there's a part of me now that's like, listen, summer camp and youth group and things like that, they aren't necessary, right? But if you have the ability to do these programs, and you can do these programs in a way that doesn't like remove these kids from the church proper, like, but instead helps them to sort of better sort of
mhm.
incorporate with the church, like, and better equip them to like really engage, well then like by all means do stuff like that, because it's awesome. It's Dude, I had a conversation with a kid, a 13-year-old 14-year-old kid, about covenant theology, and that kid was like, dude, yeah, and he was like, dude, he was like a rock
Whoa,
star, like had a grip on it that like I'm not
nice.
sure I I have that kind of grip on it. It's like, and I mean, some of that is just like
Mhm.
the OPC. They're really good about that stuff. Um, but yeah, it was super cool. I
Yeah.
had a ton of fun, and I'm really hoping that by the grace of God, like, Megan or I, or hopefully maybe both of us can do it again. Uh, I was really grateful for the opportunity to be a part of it. And yeah, so very,
Mhm.
very cool. Like I said, I probably will be the counselor who, like, there's like, I don't know, like with the skit thing, I was like, dude, I was like, yeah, you guys shouldn't know about this, but it's like not that big a
Mhm.
deal. Like, and there was like one line where like I was
Mhm.
like, after they were done, I was like, yeah, you guys probably should have cut that one. And they were like, I was like, in fact, well, no, they
You
didn't
shouldn't
do
have dropped
that.
the
It was like
F-bomb in front
it
of
was
everyone. I
something
mean,
about
come
like
on.
cooking
No,
up gospel
I'm
tracks,
kidding.
and they used the word like
No
cookie.
way.
And I was like, I told them, I was like, dude, guys, like maybe find a better one. But they were all like so into it that it was just like they were kind of like,
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, it's not the best choice, guys. Here, like,
Nice.
you know, but it was great. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
uh you know, and it was like one of those things. It was a really refreshing time, and it actually kind of made it harder to come back to work because it's like you're
Yeah.
sort of like you're like, oh dude, this
Mhm.
is so cool. Like a little bit of like, it's kind of a bit of a slice of like paradise, like the kingdom. Like it's like a glimpse, right, of like just like living and sort of
Mm.
working
Mhm.
alongside your brothers and sisters in Christ, and sort of like, yeah, it was awesome. And then I came back to work and I was like,
That's so
uh,
cool.
but yeah,
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 the
yeah,
valley
like
of the shadow
the
of
bog of
death.
despair, dude. Um, you know, but yeah, man. So
Yeah,
that's, I mean, that's kind of really like I was on vacation. Yeah, played a mess of Dragon Quest
sweet.
11, and again, I have an update on that, but
Yeah,
that can be saved for the backlog report proper. But
yes.
yeah, and then just had an absolute blast at camp. You know,
Yeah.
I did not tell any of my boys about this podcast, and maybe I should have, but that felt like weird, and I
Mhm.
didn't want to be a shill. But if any of the boys from Fox One, that was our cabin. If any of you boys actually do stumble upon this podcast, you've discovered my deep dark secret. I am a podcast host. Um, I I
Oh, no. My mother will be
But so,
ashamed.
dude, yeah, I mean, it's been 2 fortnights. What's good with you, man? Like, what's
Yeah.
been going on?
Mhm. It has. It has. Gosh, so I'm trying to think over like what huge things have happened, and there have been some things that like have been great for me to kind of like tick off my list. We had a whole issue with we got some home repairs done last year, and we got like no interest, no
Yo,
payments for a year on it, and but then when we finally came around to getting a home equity loan, because the prices of houses here in Austin have shot up, it's ridiculous, so we have a lot of equity, so that's why we did the home repairs. But anyways, find out that like our mortgage company had some clerical error to where they had two liens on our property, so we weren't eligible for a home equity loan until that was taken off. So back and forth with them and the title company to finally get it removed. Anyways, it was just this huge headache where we actually went past that 1 year mark. And so we were going to be charged like $8,000 in interest, something like that, because we couldn't move forward with the other loan. But I worked it out with finance company, like got it all situated. They were fine that we paid late, and they zeroed out the account. Like everything was
yo, that's
fine.
cool.
So that was like huge weight off my shoulders. Yeah, exactly. Like it's a dumb like adult garbage to deal with, but man, it felt so. I was just rejoicing, because I'm praying like, God, I really don't want to like have to pay a ton in interest just because of a clerical error, like
Oh,
it's
dude, for
really
sure,
frustrating.
for sure. Like, it's like
And
the
so
fact that like they would even
the fact.
and it's good. Like they did the right thing because it's like somebody else screwed up here. Like,
Mhm. Yeah, and it's someone totally unrelated to them. So it's like you can't, these companies weren't tied in with each other, so there's no way. And it's my fault for waiting 6 months before I went to look into getting a home equity loan, because we had it for a whole year. So it's like, I can get a loan in 6 months, like that's no problem at all. And then come to find out, like there's so much runaround. Ugh. Anyways, so there's stuff like dumb stuff like that has been great. But really, as I look back on the past month, it's been a great time, like you mentioned, just of refreshing, like uh, because life has
mhm.
run at a bit of a slower pace. Ever since switching positions at the church and the class that I'm taking, my final class, going through that. And so I've been able to just have some time, more time, like with Samantha, with the kids, hanging out. I've really been trying to focus more on my health, and so that's been, a challenge, while at the same time, like, seeing progress is very nice. So all those things, like, I've been enjoying time, and like, even if it's time in front of the TV, with my kids or whatever, watching Sonic 2, just having a good time. It's been really nice, and I know life is not going to be this way forever. It's just like this short little period of time, before, because I after the summer, things are going to ramp up at work, at the church. Over summer, things for like small groups and things like that tend to kind of chill out a little bit. But then once fall hits and everyone's kind of back in to the swing of things, then stuff's going to ramp up. So I know, yeah, it's not going to be like this forever, but it's been a real nice time of being able to just have a little bit
Yeah.
of refreshment. It's been cool. So enjoying my time. So yes, there's lots to report, lots of media consumption that's happened. So I think actually we can just roll right into that. I think I've got it. Yes, here we go. Okay, I need to find it real quick, but there we go.
Backlog.
Welcome to the Backlog Report. So Winston Churchill's Backlog Report.
Actually,
Yeah,
what
anyways.
Churchill was like a heck of a
British bulldog.
Oh, wait, there's like a fancy term for public speaker, and I can't remember any of it. But yeah, orator is a good one.
Orator.
I was
don't
gonna
know.
but I was gonna say
Something like that.
elocution, but that's
But there's a different one.
he
Yes.
could elocute
Yes.
with the best of them. A
Mhm.
master elocutor.
Master. Oh.
Electricity.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. I got elocuted by his
Oh
speech. I don't
man,
know. That's
we talk pretty.
weird.
We talk pretty
I just make it weird.
someday.
That's
So,
just what
dude,
happens.
what do you have on Yale Backlog Report, bud?
So many things, all the things. I'm not going to list off everything that I've been watching, because I've been able to just kind of like, whether it's having stuff on the side like Ultraman. I finished Ultra 7, which is awesome. Jumped into the next season, Return of Ultraman. Enjoying that. Awesome, man. Shout out to Wes, who got me hooked on Ultraman, and now I'm collecting the seasons, and it's dumb, and I love it. It's awesome. Even in my water cup, I've got a little Ultraman on it. It's awesome.
We could start
So
calling
there's
you
that.
Ultra Josh.
Been watching the
Instead of Trash Josh, you could be Ultra Josh.
You could. It's so fun. I like I like that a little bit more. My youngest daughter, Penny, when she sees Ultraman, she says, "Uppy Jam, Uppy Jam." And the other day, we were at church, and in just the lyrics, because we were there at rehearsal because Samantha was singing, and like the background was just like this, like color thing, and somehow in this color thing she saw Ultraman, because she looked at it, she was like, "Up a jam." And I was like, I love you so much, Penny.
You're my favorite, and by
Up
a
a
lot.
jam. Anyways, so
He loves them all equally.
Oh man, I'm not publicly. No, I'm just kidding. But so yes, Star Trek Next Generation I've been watching kind of on the side, which has been fun.
Mm-hmm.
Watching the Orville with my wife, and then some movies. I saw The Northman, which is pretty stinking intense. I would recommend. It's one of those movies that, like, after you're done with it, you kind of just have to sit and think, because, like, while the plot is very simple, it's very well executed, and so you like sit and think about the character motivations and stuff, and certain lines that kind of resonate and things like that. So that one was really good, and I feel like there have been some others, but they don't
What'd you watch that
immediately
on?
come to mind. So yeah, it I had to get a trial of Peacock. It's streaming on Peacock. So I actually got it confused with Paramount Plus, because I got a trial of Paramount Plus so that my kids could watch
Mm.
Sonic 2, which was hilarious because I thought it was Paramount Plus. So I signed up for it. I'm like, okay, we can watch Sonic 2. And then I'm like, wait, it's not on here. Oh, shoot, it's on Peacock. So I found a trial for that as well. So I've got like
Well,
reminders on
and
my
that's like
calendar of
honestly,
when
that's
to
I think that's
cancel these
how I
different
would
things.
just
Because
like moving forward. That's how I'm probably going to use a lot of these services. Is like, oh, there's something on here I want to watch. The season is like going on, or the movie. And it's like I'll pay for a month or
yep,
two, and then boop, bounce out. You know,
exactly. Yep. And so that's why I've had like the Star Trek Next Generation. I usually just put it on my tablet because we have like a holder thingy at the top of the elliptical.
watching
So I've been
TNG,
getting on the
dude.
elliptical every day lately for the past like, yeah, exactly. I have that and a wireless earbud
Mm.
in my ear because it's early before anyone else wakes up, and then my Switch in my hands. And that is my, so I like forget how long that I'm on
It's like he
the
just goes, and
elliptical.
it's like
It's pretty
eight
stinking
hours
awesome
later.
because I've got the,
Ooh.
yeah, got the grips, so you're able to play. And dude, when you're playing Hades on the elliptical, you
Dude,
start going quick, man.
I'm
The
so
the
pumped that
steps
you're into
the
that the way
steps
that
hit
you are.
hard.
Like it's good stuff. It's like the good sauce,
Yes.
isn't it, man?
Yeah, so yeah, well let's flow into video games. So I finished that stupid puzzle game that I loved, that I was addicted to. But it's dumb. It's like I can't recommend the game because it's not like a great game. It's a match 3. It's got an interesting little thing to it. But it definitely, like, you can
Mm-hmm.
tell that it was a mobile game
Yeah.
that they kind of like redid for 3DS because the difficulty spike is insane and it requires you to grind in order to get new like
Like
things
it's like,
in the
oh,
game
that's
in order to have
that's the
enough
phone
power.
stuff right there.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And it's like obviously they're not going to charge you anything cuz it's on a physical cartridge. So you're not going to buy anything. So you just grind. Which I was okay with because I really enjoyed the game. And it totally, dude, we were just talking about the Tetris effect on the episode with the
Oh, did
with our official best questions ever. I totally
like
had
you were
that
just
effect
matching three,
with
like
this
you were looking
game
at things and
where
you were
in my head I'm
like
like
putting them in
thinking,
groups of 3 and like watching like the little lines or whatever.
well, the way that it works is you grab one of the icons and then you drag it, and so
Mm-hmm.
everything else moves in its wake. And so you have to start recognizing certain patterns. So when you see like one that you want and then one in the middle and then at the bottom there's one that you want, like you think about how to drag things over in order to make it the right way. So if there's an L, there's a way to straighten it out if you kind of like drag it certain ways. And so like I found myself, like
Mm-hmm.
closing my eyes and just seeing these patterns and then thinking through, because you're not under a time crunch then, because when you're playing the game, you have like
Yeah,
3
man.
seconds to like move stuff around. So, uh, totally got me and I enjoyed it, but it's not a good
It's not what
game.
one would call a
So like
good
I
game.
can't recommend it. I
Well,
enjoyed it.
that's like
Exactly. So it's what I needed
something
too.
kind of
I wanted a
mindless
puzzle
and
game and
yeah, like yeah.
it was
No, I
well
get
worth
it.
it.
It's like that kind of like
Mhm.
that almost like that's sort of like the spirit of like the guilty pleasure. But I don't feel guilty about playing stuff like that. I'm like, no, this
Mhm.
is dumb. And but it's also like
Right.
it's kind of where I'm vibing right now. So I'm just gonna play this dumb game. I'm gonna have a good time with it. I'm gonna watch this dumb show. And it's like I don't like it's dumb and I'm
Mhm.
gonna tell you it's kind of dumb, but like I'm still into it. Like,
Right.
yep.
Yes. Totally. Like when I say that I don't recommend it, it's like I don't know that it's going to hit you the same way that it hit me, because it hit me like, oh yes, this is what I want right now and for the next, however long I spent on it, 15, 20 hours maybe, like a ridiculous amount of time for what it should have been, on
Yeah.
paper. But I really enjoyed my time with it. So while it's nowhere near what we'll be talking about later on our top 100 list, no, I would not put it on there. I just really enjoyed it and I enjoyed my time with it. And when I, rolled the credits, I was like,
Yeah, but
awesome.
But,
I'm ready to put
and
this
I would
down,
even sort of say, like,
like
something like that, though, like, having something like that where it's a lot more casual, it's a lot more, like, just, like, the dumb fun game. Like,
Mhm.
maybe we ought to start, like, looking for slots to, like, throw some of that stuff on the top 100 because, like, it's a game that it's like, yeah,
Mm,
like, I'm not gonna say, like, go out like, I'm not saying that we need to put that game in particular on the list. I'm just saying, like, there needs to be like
yeah.
I was sort of looking at the list and I was kind of like, yeah, we got a bunch of stuff on here that I'm just like I there's just a
Ooh,
bunch of anyways, well
nice.
we can talk about that later. Anyways, yeah, do you have
Mhm.
anything more?
Yes, we will get to that.
Oh boy.
So,
Oh, yeah.
oh, yes, and I do. That was a great loaded question because right after that, I was like, "Okay, it's time. It's time. I've heard this is a good game, so let's go ahead and do it." And also, I needed an elliptical game, so I
Mhm.
primarily play my Switch
Yeah.
when I'm on the elliptical. Just because of my stage of life. And I have been more in the past few weeks playing it outside of that as well, a little bit more, but primarily like my video game time is while I'm exercising on the elliptical. And so it's I was thinking like, okay, I need an action game. Let's do it. Let's go. Let's go. Let's play some Hades. And I'll be honest, when I first started playing it, I'm like, okay, this feels like a more fully realized version of Bastion.
Yeah.
Like I think it has some very similar DNA in there, and it didn't hook me like I was expecting. It wasn't like from the
No,
very
it's
beginning. I'm
it
like, oh, this is awesome.
it's a bit of a
It's just
slower
like,
burn,
oh,
but
it's good.
once it actually
Yeah.
gets so, like once it actually sort of, like,
Hmm.
hits the bloodstream, then you're like, "Oh, let's go."
Yes. Yes. So once you start
Mhm.
learning how to play, so and it's this crazy thing because they dangle the freaking carrot in front of you because they don't explain stuff. They're just like, "Go. Just play however you want. Just do it." And so I'm like, "Okay, well, I'll do this. And then I only get so far. I beat the first boss. I'm like, "Oh, this is awesome." I beat the second boss, and actually the second boss like rarely ever gave me trouble. Apparently people have trouble with him, but I was like, no problem. Third boss, oh my gosh, that was like a freaking brick wall. Anyways, so there are certain parts of the game where it's just like this seems impossible. I don't know how I'm going to get past this, and then I start looking up
Mhm.
stuff on YouTube, online, and I'm like, oh, you can play this very differently. Oh, I'm going for like brute forcing the game.
There
There's a
can
lot
be,
more
yeah.
finesse to this. And then it's all about the boons.
And
Like I was going
the
for the
upgrades
upgrades, but
don't
whoa, you
ignore the
start
upgrades,
stacking these
but
boons.
it's all
Right.
about yeah, it really
Mhm.
is about finding, like, on any given run dude, you know what? This convinces it we need to just do an episode on Hades. Next episode, we'll be on Hades.
No, I'm no, okay. Hey, I'm down. I'm down. I'm down. I did not 100%. I'm sure you've like
I
finished
did
everything, which
I
is
had
man. Oh
all that
gosh.
was left on my Switch run, and at some point in time, I'm gonna double back, was, like, I had, like, 1 or 2
Mhm.
of that the list of minor prophecies. I had, like, 2 of those left. One of them was the fishing
Okay.
one, and I hate that stupid fishing game. Um, it's fine, it's
Oh,
fun, but it doesn't I'm just like, this
interesting.
is" Yeah, and it's
It's
yeah,
total
and
RNG
it's like
though.
I needed to catch,
Like
like, a
how do
rare
you
fish or something like that, and I anyways, but we
ah,
anyways, but yeah. But yeah, I as like I'm
yes.
probably when I do sort of eventually fire it up on my PS5, like, yeah, it's gonna be I'm just gonna just whole hog probably go for the platinum if I can. Like,
That's that's sick. That's sick. Yeah. So the
mhm,
game is much deeper than I had like first
mhm,
thought it to be and expected it to be. And so when it clicks and you're doing these different builds and of
mhm,
course there's randomness involved because it's a roguelike. So yeah, yes, it there's a section of the game where I don't want to give any spoilers, but it becomes very repetitive. And that part at first was pretty frustrating for me because I was doing well for a little bit and then I was not doing well for quite a while. And I'm like, this feels like a freaking uphill battle because I have to repeat the same thing over and over and over again. And it's kind of 50-50. And I don't know about you,
Yeah.
but my runs are like 45 minutes. Like a run takes a while. It's not like I compared this in my mind to something like Rogue Legacy because you still
Yeah.
make progress even though you die. You still gain a little bit of things to make some progress, which eventually builds and builds and builds, which that makes the game great. Because I'm not very good at it, but at least compared to the 25-minute speed run that I watched. But the because you're able to kind of build these different things in the game and you learn these different things. It did kind of do this little roller coaster thing where I found it to be a little frustrating. And then when I was getting the hang of it, then when I was experimenting with different builds, then when I was
Mm-hmm.
finding things that I really liked, um, then it started clicking more. So while it got a little of the worst parts of Bravely Default, although there's
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more progress, you make a little bit more progress in this. Um, Despite that, I still ended up very much enjoying it. I only rolled
So you
credits, so
you
there's still
you
lots
beat
for
it
me
10
to
times
do in the
then.
game.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, there's still a ton,
yes,
like at that
yes.
point in time, like all the bulk of like the story stuff is kind of like done. But there's still just
Mhm.
like tons of reasons to keep playing the game. So, yep. Yep. And how about
Right,
that soundtrack, dude?
right.
It's so
Yes.
good. It's
So yeah.
so
Oh my
rad.
gosh. Yes.
It slaps.
Yes, as the kids say, it slaps. It is sure. And I reread my comment because you mentioned it in Discord, and I was like, oh, I kind of sound like I'm downplaying it, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to downplay it there. Like because I listened to the soundtrack before I played the game, and I was like, oh yeah, this music is
Mm,
pretty dang
mm,
good. But then playing it really
mm,
like hits hard because just like the tempos, the heaviness of it really helps when you're in like a dire situation, when it gets like almost bullet hell on you and you're just like,
yeah,
what the
dude.
heck, man, how am I supposed to do this? It gets crazy. And then like the slower parts, like the songs, Eurydice's songs and Orpheus's songs and stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that, those can be earworms, which again, hearing it outside of the game, it's like, okay, this is okay. But while you're
Mm-hmm.
playing it, it's just like, oh man,
So
yeah, yes, that it. And apparently, Darren Korb's like really good at the
that's
game
dude.
too, which
I
is
just like
crazy.
him.
That dude's
Like
talented
he's. I
all
mean,
around.
he's like a he's a
Hmm.
stinking lib probably, but I just man, he makes like cool. They probably all are, but
Aren't they all?
like they make cool stuff. Like I'm so glad that to like, and again, we'll
Yeah,
talk a little bit more about this next episode when we just talk about Hades. But um,
yeah.
yeah,
There we
dude,
go.
I'm so glad. So I put it at number 11, and again, like that was like I fought for that. Do
Hmm.
you think that was justified now that you've played it?
Yeah. Um, I
Okay.
I wouldn't put it that high. As of right now, I wouldn't put it that high. Although I do think there's something very special about this game in that it is an indie game that is well into the upper
Yeah.
echelon of like AAA games. Like this is a fully because like and I know it was in early access for a long time for this very reason. I think
Yeah.
it is balanced extremely well. Like it's crazy what all of the possibilities that you can have in this game. And sure, you can have a really crappy run still, but by and large, I think the game helps you more than it hurts you in the ways that it gives you different things. And
Mm-hmm.
certainly it challenges you as well. Um, but I think the RNG is actually
I
your
think
friend
I think
for
it
most of the
like the
game.
RNG can
Um,
work for you. You have to be savvy in sort of like you there's
mhm,
it's sort of
mhm.
it is a bit of a 50-50. Like but yeah. It's cuz like
Mhm.
yeah, you can also like
And
really
it
like set yourself up for disaster. So, it's very easy to build like a turd build.
mhm. Yes, yes. Well, and then also, oh man, just the way that the game is constructed, you can have a build that is fantastic until the end of the game, and then it's garbage. Or flip side, I've had builds where it was really hard to get to the end of the game, and then I flew through that very ending
Mm-hmm.
portion where you go to the um, multiple doors, flew right through it, no problem, and flew through the final boss, which is just like weird. It's like depending on where you are, different builds can be more viable,
Yeah.
or maybe it's the way that you
It's
play. Also,
yeah.
it could be a number of different factors, but it's balanced like amazingly well for everything that's in this game. And the more that I think about it, like it, I think of the other like darling of indie games is of course Hollow Knight. And yeah, I can see this like
Mhm.
up there with Hollow Knight. I still have a love for Hollow Knight and I haven't played it in a couple
I
years
think
now at
they
this point.
both
So maybe I should
represent
go back and play it.
I think they
But I
both
would say the
represent sort
quality's
of like
there.
the pinnacle of their respective genres. Like they are like Hollow Knight is
Mhm.
top shelf like Metroidvania, and I mean there's a whole bunch of stuff there, but I would say like Hades is top shelf sort of roguelike
Mhm.
adventure game kind of thing. I don't know. Like
Yeah. I agree because like Rogue Legacy again is kind of what I compare it to. And while I
mhm.
think Rogue Legacy is absolutely fantastic, I think this one outclasses it in like Rogue Legacy seems so much more simple. It's a microcosm that's done really well, but this one is so
Yeah.
expansive
Yeah.
and done
Well,
really
let's
well.
save we've or no, no, no. Next
Yeah,
episode,
sorry.
man.
This
But
is this
so
is
what
next
else
episode.
besides Hades, what else have you gotten into,
Yeah.
man?
That's right. That's right. Finished up Hades. I wanted more action because I'm on the elliptical, so I didn't want to play anything slow. I want to forget that I'm actually exercising because I've been pushing myself to spend at least an hour on the elliptical every
Beast
morning.
mode.
So yeah, I know I'm a crazy person, but yes, I'm going at it. So there's a game I bought a couple years ago. It was still in the flippin' shrink wrap when I pulled it out of the garage, and I'm like, man, I've had this for so long. Mega Man
Dude.
11 is what I started up, and my goodness, it kicked my butt the first time. First time I played it, I spent the entire hour on a single level
That's
and
one of
did
the
not beat
8-bit
the level
ones, right?
because I'm just
Or
like,
is that okay, okay, okay.
no, it's the newer one. So it's the latest Mega Man where they kind of like redesign stuff. It looks kind of like a more 3D version of like 7, of like Mega Man 7 kind of graphics. But and they add this
Yeah.
double gear system where you can power up Mega Man or slow stuff down. And once you get that down, once you start using the speed gear to slow stuff down, that's when you can really kind of break open the game. And that's when and there are things in the game that you can do to make it easier. Because I'm proud, I didn't want to take it down from normal because there's a
Mhm.
number of different like difficulty settings. And I'm like, psh, I'm not gonna play on. I think under normal is casual.
I'm
I'm like, I'm not a
I'm
filthy
no
casual.
casual.
I'm not gonna do that. Come on. I'm gonna bang my head up against the wall for an entire hour trying to beat a single freaking boss. But yeah, once I kind of learned now and kind of made it a little easier in some of the items that I've gotten,
I just
because that's another
I
thing that you can do in
I
the game.
pulled up my
It's been
PlayStation
a
app here.
smoother
I have that.
ride.
I apparently bought that at one point in time.
Hmm.
So, yeah. Um
Mm. Yeah, it definitely feels like classic Mega Man. I mean, while you might not get the pixel precision of the NES games, it doesn't feel floaty or anything like that. Like it feels really good to play. And it doesn't. Yeah, I feel like it's not playing
okay.
with kid gloves when you play on normal. There's definitely a good amount of challenge there, while still allowing you to purchase extra lives and purchase e-tanks and things like that if need be, which in my case I need be. So I'm making my way through that. I've already gotten to the Dr. Wily stages, so hopefully I'm rounding the corner on the game. But I don't know. The Dr. Wily, once you do all the bosses back
The
to back,
Dr.
it's
Wily
just,
stages are
there's
always like
I don't know.
brutal.
I don't
This
know.
I recently
Yes,
with by
exactly.
recently within the like last 10 years tried to replay like Mega Man 2 or 3 again, and
Mhm.
I beat that game as like a
'Kay.
kid, like I was 10 or 11. And I was like, "Okay, cool." And I was vibing with
Mhm.
it, but it was like also I was getting spanked, like just getting like mercilessly. And it's like, how
Yeah.
did I sort of make this game, like my footstool? And like as a child, and then I'm like coming back to
Uh-huh.
it and it's like, "Oh no. No, no sir. No, no thank you." Like, "No longer, sir."
No longer.
Instead, I am just like writhing on the ground, like screaming, "It hurts. It hurts."
Yes, yes, and that's how I felt the first kinda go around is I'm just like, "Oh, are you serious?" So many like it felt like cheap deaths, but it's just it requires you
Mhm.
to do some memorization or to use that speed gear a lot, like slow stuff down when you need to. So yeah, I've been really enjoying that, getting towards the end of that, and that's all that I've been playing. Now that my report has taken,
Yeah,
a good half hour of the podcast,
this is sorta
uh,
we knew we were gonna run a like we're getting caught up
extended.
over the space of 2 fortnights.
Mhm.
So, oh, well, I guess
It's
that's
true.
turning it over to
It's true.
me. As far as like just general media, you talked a little bit about like Ultraman, how you were watching a lot of Ultraman. I have been continuing to pursue the weeb trash. Now, this one though, and what I will say is this one
Mm.
is sort of tokusatsu related. Um, in a conversation we were having with Wes, it brought up Garo, Garo. Uh, and it's a tokusatsu,
Mhm.
and I forget the guy's name, but one of the guys, he did some like SMT work and stuff like that. And I sort of and
Yep.
there's an animated series that
Yep.
came out a few years ago called Garo the Animation or whatever. It was on Hulu. I watched it. It
Oh.
is mature. Um, eh, and like honestly,
Oh,
the
no.
the series itself wasn't
Like
too racy, but there was a lot of violence, like tons of
okay.
gore and blood and viscera.
Okay.
It was not, yeah, yes.
This
Um, and I was kind of into it. Like I enjoyed my time with that
Yeah.
series, enough so that I'm gonna check out the animated movie. I'm gonna probably check out some of the other series. I'm gonna probably check out the actual Tokusatsu
Nice.
show, at some point in time. And it's kind of a cool premise. I mean, it's like Ultraman ish, like,
Okay.
instead of power timers and Ultramans, like, it's other stuff. But it's like they can
Mhm.
transform into these Makai Knight forms and fight demons. Instead of aliens, they fight demons and or horrors. And
Nice.
instead of turning into Ultramen, they turn into Makai Knights. And and then they chop things up with their magical
Mhm.
swords. So I don't know. It's cool.
Mhm.
Um, it is
Nice.
violent. Do not watch it with small children. Um, it. I mean, it's like one of those things where I was like, yeah, well, I'm kind of into it. I am also a 41-year-old man, so take that into consideration. Um, on a much
So you're saying that you don't want Fox
of
1 to
Garo.
do a
Oh, dude,
parody
I
of
they will
it next
never.
year?
Fox One, you boys best not. No, if any of you are listening, yeah. No. Anyways, Spy Family though, and something a little more like wholesome and lighthearted because like I have
Okay.
sort of I think that's and we talked about this, but like what really brought me back to sort of like anime in general was like some of the like slice of life stuff, and I've been watching. There's one I forget what it's called.
Mhm.
It's like uh Love is War, I think is like the subtitle or something like that. Um,
Okay.
but it's really sweet, really charming. It's a slice of life romance kind of thing. And I just watched the end of the third season of that and I was like, oh, this is really like charming, really kind of sweet, kind of fun. Just because like we've talked about that. Like sometimes I just want to like I want to see like a sweet kind of charming
Mhm.
story. And I know there are a couple
Yeah.
guys in like the Weeb channel on Discord who were like, Spy Family is so good. And I was like, and it popped up as like, if you watch this, you might like
Okay.
this. So I was like, I started watching it, and I was like 2 or 3 episodes in, I was like, the first episode, I was like, no, okay. But 2 or 3 episodes in, I was like, I like where this is going. It's a really sweet, it's really cute. It's
Sweet.
also kind of fun. It's got some like, interesting action elements. It's fun. It's fun. It's sweet. It's kind of just like, it's got like a good, it's like, it's a, it's fun. I don't know. I was like, it's good spirit. It's a spirited, like sort of like good hearted little romp. Spy Family is, where I'm at right now. It's a good time. Um, as far as like books, uh, dude, I've, one of the things, and we'll be talking about, it's like I've been trying to just read more, and I've been failing miserably. I'm gonna try and
Okay.
start like just like I have like the Little Golden Book, and I have read and reread like the first couple chapters of that, and it's not long. It's not long at all, but for some reason I just can't like really like dig into it.
Hmm.
Or the Little Book of on Christian Living or Christian Life or whatever. It's the but I just for whatever, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, nah, I'm just gonna like at some point in time I am gonna knuckle down and just sort of like power through this thing. Just like read like a couple pages at a time if that's what it takes. Cause I mean, some of it is you gotta like sort of punch outside of your weight class and sort of get uncomfortable. And I have not been reading, and eventually what I'd like to do honestly is like there was a comment made in Discord. It's like the difference between like Calvinists who have actually read Calvin's Institutes and Calvinists who haven't. There is a distinct difference. And it's like, I don't know that I've ever read the Institutes from like front to back, right? I've read a significant amount of the
Yeah.
chapters, like I've
Yeah.
skimmed through it, like I've I'm familiar with it, right? The institutes, but I don't, and I really do just want
Hmm.
to, and even sort of John's comments about how like devotional that book is, like I do just sort of want to go back through and sort of like, and even when I was reading it the first time, like the pastoral heart that John Calvin had, um, one, he was a tremendous theologian, but he was all like very pastoral in his inclination. Like that book is written for believers to
Hmm.
be encouraged and edified and challenged by. Like, and to sort of like, anyways. So at some point in time, I do want to just start working on that. But I finished that
Yeah.
Tad Williams audiobook that I was listening to. The Golden City, and I've moved on to the second one. It's that like dystopian cyber
Okay.
thing. I don't know. It's fine. Like Tad Williams is a good writer. He writes interesting characters
Hmm.
with an interesting story. Um, other than that, like it's not like it, what I would recommend, is that if you guys are interested in checking out Tad Williams, I would check out the Dragon Bone Chair. Um, and the accompanying trilogy or quadrology, and he's actually doing a sequel to that. But like that's like really, I
Hmm.
think the jumping off point is like the Dragonbone Chair. And if you like that book, it's it's like I said before, it's like George R. R. Martin if George R. R. Martin didn't suck. um so it's not as grim, not as dark.
Nice.
But as far as games go, I have not played nearly as much as you in the last 4 weeks, but I played a lot more
Hmm.
of one thing. And I have played some other things. Okay. So, and
Hmm.
I will
Hmm.
sort of build up
Hmm.
to that. Uh, I
Okay.
did, and I'll talk about my beatdown score here in a little bit, but I did pick up that new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. That game, folks, is like
Yeah.
nostalgia, like just like it like shoot it into my veins. Like I played probably about an hour out. That was a Breaking Bad
That
reference.
was a Breaking Bad reference. If
Actually
no one
the
caught that.
Breaking Bad would just be like,
Anyways.
crush it up and snort it or smoke it. Um or you know what? We don't need to go into drug references here. Never mind. Never mind. Radio
Never mind.
edit,
Never mind. We're good.
edit that out in post, Josh. But uh, it is just like nostalgia drip feed goodness. Like it's really charming
Mm.
pixel art. Although I would have been really interested to see, because the same team that did that did Streets of Rage 4. I would have been really interested to see them do a Turtles game
Oh,
with that sort of art style, with that like really beautiful um
okay.
and like hand drawn animation versus, I mean, dude, don't get me
Hand
wrong, the
drawn.
pixel art's gorgeous,
Yeah.
so no complaints. Like but it's like,
Mhm.
I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, I like pixel art too. So it's a ton of fun. I played like an hour and a half
Mhm.
with Logan and Micah from TRG. Yeah, it was a good time.
Oh, sweet.
It,
Yeah.
it's good fun. That did affect my beatdown score, but again, we'll get there. So I've also been playing a little bit of Far Cry 3 Blood
Mhm.
Dragon. Um, so yeah, this is something that I've
Okay.
been like I dabbled with a few times back on PS3 and I enjoyed it, but I was already at that
Yeah.
point in time, I was sort of already moving into PS4. And so it's kind of like one of those things where uh, I have that PlayStation Plus Premium, and there's a Ubisoft service that's
Mhm.
included in that. And Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon is one of those games that's sort of
Okay.
there. And I own it on PS3. Like, and you know, um but anyways, I was like looking through the service cuz I wanted to check it out, and there's a ton of stuff on there that I either have or whatever. And I was like, "You know what?" And I sort of was flipping through it, and I was like, "Yo, there's Blood Dragon in there." I was like, "I kind of enjoyed that." And again, like, I have to sort of preface it. This is a game that I'm like, there's a part of me that really likes it because I kind of do like those Ubisoft Far Cry, like,
Mm.
here's this map, all sorts of stuff to do. The map's super busy, like, go take the base, go do this. I also like the vibe where it's like it's just 80s schlock.
Mhm.
It is like
Yes. Very tongue in
the
cheek.
tutorial is like just
Nod and a
like
wink.
so obnoxious, but it like sort of it's like it's also like, it knows
Yes.
it's obnoxious. And but it's also like, dude,
Uh-huh.
there's so much swearing.
Yep.
Like, so much
Yes.
swears. Um
Yes.
like it's like, I mean, there's a lot of F bombs. And so I can't in good conscience recommend it. Even
Mhm.
though I do appreciate, like, and something I
Yeah.
wanted to sort of bring up is like, I actually really appreciate the fact that it's like it's the short form sort of Far Cry games. Like, I really like
Mhm.
that this is a game that you can play in like 10-15 hours and sort of roll out on, and you still get like
Okay.
that Far Cry vibe. So I'm enjoying it. I'm also kind of like, oh, feelings. There's a whole bunch of stuff. Been playing Monster
Yeah.
Hunter World with my brother and Parker. Um,
Oh.
man, like that game. mm, I the this game is it's so hard for me to like get into it. Like when we're playing, I enjoy
Okay.
my time with Parker and Deuce. This is not a game that I can play by myself. And frankly, I think like I just am not
Yeah.
a huge like. There's some weird jankiness to that game. I don't know if you've played. Have you played any of it?
Yeah. I haven't played World. I played Try,
Okay,
which was 3 on Wii, until you started going underwater, and then I was like, "Nope."
you're like
I noped my way right out of there because it freaked me out with
just
these big
swimming
dinosaur
around.
dragon things shooting at you
Oh,
while you're
dude.
like
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it just
The
freaked
hard
I
nope
just
out
couldn't
of
do it.
that. Like,
And then
super nope.
yes. Yeah. I was like, "I played 12 hours of this, I'm good."
It's
Like,
just
this was fun, but
World
I
is like
can't do this.
kind of just
It freaks
mechanically
me out.
clunky.
Uh,
And I think like some of that
okay,
is like, I
okay,
guess that's just sort of like the game. But I'm also like, it's not good.
okay.
Like, it,
Yeah, I played a bit of
mm,
4 Ultimate on 3DS as well. I own that game, which is a funny story how I got it, but I won't go into that. in like only a few hours of it, and it felt like it gave you so many options, and I sucked really bad for the first few hours that I was just kind of like, okay, maybe I'll come back to this later. Like, I don't know, I've got like 8 different weapons I can use, but I'm
But
terrible. So I don't know. Like, maybe I do just
it
need a
also
group of
just
people to play this with. I don't know. It's like one of those games I want to go back to, but I also know that it's going
well,
to be a
dude,
huge
pick up.
investment,
You
and
know
so I
what?
haven't gone back to it for that
Pick
reason.
up World, and you can
I
hop
want to
on
like
with
it.
me and
I
Deuce and
want to like it.
Parker, and
Okay.
you can suck with us. Um, well, actually, like what? Like, it's par for the course.
Oh no. I
You
think
can
we
suck
just
with
got the
us.
title of the episode.
But Deuce is as par for the course. Deuce is like he's already beaten the game, and so he's really good, and he's just sort of like. And there is in
Mhm.
this the like currently, so like you can get like this super easy like because there's the whole Frostborn or whatever that expansion is,
Right.
and so there's sort of like armor and gear that you have access to that actually makes it a lot easier. It's like basically sort of like top low tier gear or something. I don't know. But it's like it's better gear than you would have for a
Mhm.
significant amount of time in the game. Um, and it makes just playing, but it's like I just like in playing it, I'm like, this game just feels like mechanically, like to control it and interact with it. I just like I want somebody to go through and optimize some of the controls. That's it. Like just there's some stuff that it's like I don't hate everything about it. Like the combat does feel a little clunky, but that's actually part of the game too. They want you to be a lot more intentional. You're supposed to be like trapping and sort of like using different coatings and all
Yeah.
sorts. Like there's a whole series of stuff where I'm gonna run up on this dinosaur and bop it to death. And it's like, well, you could do that, but you're also kind of not supposed to do it that. Um, so um yeah, I mean, it's cool. It's like one of those games that I like.
Nice.
The premise is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to play
Mhm.
multiplayer, but it's also like a game where I'm just like, it's not kind of like I don't know. It's not like the easy. Like I felt like getting into Division 2 was sort of like I had already played a mess of Division 2, but it's like it was a lot more accessible and it's like a lot easier to sort of dip in and out. Whereas like Monster
Mhm.
Hunter, it's like does not feel nearly as casual as I'd like it to be for a multiplayer game. It's not. It's like it's not as technical as like
Gotcha.
Neo 2, but it's like it just. I don't know. It's a game where I have like weird feelings. Where it's like I like the premise and I don't
Mhm.
mind the experience, but I'm also kind of like. Anyways, but so I played a bunch of like I've dabbled with a bunch of this stuff. I've been meaning to circle back around and really like finish Link's Awakening on Switch as well. And Ori and the Blind
Mm.
Forest, I did fire that up a little bit and just sort of like screwed around with my old save file, but then it's like I have no idea where I'm at. Like I've kind of forgotten how to play this game. And so we actually need to get that book club episode
Yep.
on the books again. But we'll
Mhm.
we'll handle that. But the big yeah, we'll get the book club
Book the book
episode on the
club, so it's on the
books.
books.
We'll get that booked.
Get it
Man,
booked.
so many books. So many books that actually have nothing to do with books. Um but the big energy game, dude, and I went hog
Yes.
wild.
Yeah, yeah. So I get an update. Oh man, this act 2. Oh my gosh, like what? I totally did not see this coming. And then darkness for like a week. I assumed you were off at camp. Oh, hey guys, I got the platinum for the game. The platinum. I'm like, "Wait, what? Like did you roll No. No, you had a screen cap of the platinum." I'm like,
So,
"Holy
and to be
wow.
fair,
Okay.
okay, so
All
Dragon
right."
Quest 11 Definitive Edition. Yeah, I got the platinum. And we will have at least Wes and potentially John on for that one. If we can
Mhm.
make it a time work for both of them. That game is Chef Kiss. Like it is, if I gave number scores, it's a 9.75.
Mm-hmm.
The only sort of like gripe, and it's not even a gripe, it's just that the controls are super basic. Like the actual mechanics of playing the game, it's I got to,
Yeah.
and it's like you just get to a certain point and you just turn on auto battling, and it's just like that's what you do, and it's like I kind of wish that mechanically it had required a little bit more out of me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
mhm,
So I've got a question for you because I only finished
mhm.
the second act because that's when you get the credit roll. I didn't go into the third act. I found this to be my easiest Dragon Quest experience out of
Mm,
all of them that I've ever played. Would you
in a
agree or would
way,
you
yeah.
disagree?
And I think a lot of it has to do
Okay.
with the
Cool.
fact that, and John's doing his full draconian run and he's posting about that in the Discord. Like, yo, and that's
Yeah.
so, and I, guys,
Right.
like, I
That's
like this
crazy.
game so much that after I beat the definitive edition, I was like, I think I still have a copy of the vanilla version laying around, and I'm like, oh, I do. So I installed that, and I think I might actually do a full
Here
draconian
we
on that
go.
one. I don't know if I'm going to go for the platinum on that one right away.
Whoa.
I don't. I'm kind of like flopping back and forth on what I'm gonna do. I might just do like a regular run and shoot for the platinum and then do a full
Yeah.
draconian. I don't know. But like John is doing, like the full draconian, I would only do the first two acts. Um, the third act, yeah, I would. But third act is, and this is what I will say is like the third act is not as substantial, like as far as like narrative impact, but it's got a lot of really enjoyable content.
Mhm.
And if you like the game, it's just like, here's more Dragon Quest 11. It's like, yeah, okay, cool. I'm in. Um, there is an Uber
Sweet.
boss that was like, I had to play like 4 or 5 times. And playing that was actually made me want to go back to
Okay.
Octopath and be like, no, I'm gonna go after the Uber boss there too now. So
I
I've
just
got some
perked up.
sickness going on
Octopath.
here.
I like that
But
word.
yeah, dude, that game is, like I said, the only thing I
Ah,
would gig it for is just that mechanically it's a little kind of like vanilla. It's a little kind of like meh. Eh, I mean, but
yeah.
other than that, it's like,
Yep.
dude, it's the music, the style, the world, the story, dude. And when and again, I want to save a lot more of this for the episode proper. Like when we actually, those first two acts, like,
Yeah.
holy moly. The end of that first act and the beginning of the second act, I was like, I got rocked. Like, I got rocked. I got hit.
Yeah.
Like, some of the, like, I would say almost, it's like, it might be in some ways one of the easiest Dragon Quests, like, just to play, like, through the story, right? But yeah, it's
Right.
also like it's got like that first act is like the most savage. Like I did not see that one coming. They just rocked me. It's so
Yeah.
good. It's so stinking good. But yeah. Um, yeah, I went from being like, "Oh, this game is pretty good," to like, "I love this game," to like just like, "Yeah, I'm cracked out on this game." Um, so
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, and yeah, right. It's what I had mentioned this. Of course, I had played it like very slowly, and so like you heard this over the course of the podcast. Is like the
mhm.
more that I play it, the more that I'm enjoying it, and I don't want to give any
It's
spoilers. I don't want to
definitely
give
the
anything
first
away, and so
2 or
like
3. I would,
trying to
to
keep my
anybody
mouth
who's, like,
shut.
considering and hasn't actually played the game before, the first 2 or 3 hours can be, like, little hard to get into, just because it is a little slow-ish. Um, yeah, I would put it in, like, that first t like, it's not it yeah, the first 2 or 3 hours.
See,
It is charming.
I
It
found it
is.
to be charming from the very beginning, and it's what I wanted because I knew I was getting myself into a Dragon Quest game. If you're someone, like, new to the
Yeah,
entire
it's
series, I can
absolutely
see what you're
charming,
saying.
but, like, I
It's
I would
just
just say, like, those first couple of hours are kind of like like, the narrative and the story sorta, like, plods along a little bit for the first couple hours, and
Mhm,
it's the first game in a while where,
yeah.
like, the story was what kept me going. Like, I was like, "What are they gonna do next? What are they gonna do
Okay.
next?" Because like, there's a lot of, like, subversion of tropes and stuff like that. And it actually has me, like, really kind of pumped for 12, to see what they do with 12.
Okay.
I mean, I was gonna check out 12 anyways because I like Dragon Quest a whole bunch. Uh and this,
Mhm.
I mean, I haven't played all of them. I haven't beaten all of the Dragon Quests, but I've played a number of them.
Right,
And
yeah,
yeah, I
neither
would
have I.
say 12, right now the ranking goes 12, 8, and 5 for me. Like as being like, or yeah, 11, 8, and
11.
5. Yeah. I keep, I'm thinking about the future. I'm
Yeah.
living in the future, Josh.
Those I agree, those are the those are the golden boys. And okay, just because you haven't mentioned it, I mean, we'll talk about it in the episode that we do on it, but I think also, like, the
Hmm.
characters in this one are really good, like, they they're the last character that you get, I was
And he's,
blindsided by, and I was like, "Oh, I really like this character." But also, I don't wanna give anything away, but I said in the Discord, I think this is the best set of twins in a JRPG since Palom and
yeah,
Porum in Final Fantasy IV. And again, I haven't played Act 3 of the game, but what they do in Act 2, I was
dude, I was
very
shooketh.
surprised by.
Even the weakest character,
Yes.
the knight in
Mhm.
smiling armor. Um, even the weakest character
Yeah,
has like a lot
right.
of charm and a lot of like
Yes,
he's not my bag. Like I'm just kind of like, but
I
he's
agree.
fun. So, um,
Mm, and yeah, there are certain
yeah,
moments that were really good, even though overall, yeah, I didn't like him that much. It was very hit or miss. He could either be extremely annoying or like, okay,
he was more
okay, cool, I see
annoying
what you're
than
doing. That's
anything in
pretty
my
cool.
opinion. But yeah, yeah, no, he was kind of like
Yeah.
it was like yeah, and even his character arc. His character arc in the third act is significantly better than in the second act, in my opinion. Um, but
Oh, okay. See, the second act, it starts off in my mind
yeah,
garbage, but then it gets better
yeah,
because
but it's even kind of
when you
it's
learn
just
more
weird.
about him,
It's
that
just
was pretty cool.
super weird. Sylvando.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of yeah. Sylvando's the weakest
Anyways, we're
character,
talking
and
around
he's got a
stuff.
weird arc, and he's just kind of a weird character, but he's
Yeah.
still kind of cool. Um, but yeah, we
Mhm.
can we will do an episode proper on that as well. But yeah, that was like my big energy. I loved it. I got the platinum. And speaking of sort of platinums and all that stuff, like I'm gonna just sort of move into a bit of an update on the backlog beatdown, sort of my backlog beatdown score, right? So I am still at -3 because and you're like,
Yeah.
Nate, but you just platinumed
Okay.
Dragon Quest
Okay.
11. And I'm like, you're right. And that got me, that is
That's
a
a
-3
negative
because it's -1
3.
for beating it, an additional -1 for platinuming
Mhm.
it. And then because it is like the main story of that game is like on how long to be got the long game bonus. It's over
Long
35
game
hours, right? So
bonus.
-3, right? And I spent way more than 35 hours on this game, just for the record. Um, but I
Mhm.
turned around and
Oh, yes. Maybe
maybe.
that's why it was easy, I don't
But
know.
I turned around and bought and started playing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. So there's +2 right there. And then there's this kind of weird little indie horror pixel art game called Worse Than Death, and I think it's, if I remember right, it's by the same guy
Hmm.
who did the game Home, which is another game. Like, it's sort of a very similar to that sort of style. And I played Home. I think it was called Home, and it's kind of creepy and weird. And so it's just like one of those games where I was like, I kind of side eyed it, and it was like $1, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll pay $1. I'll buy that for $1. Um,
Okay.
buy that for a
I'll buy
dollar.
that for a
I'll buy
dollar.
that for $1. Let's make it weird. So, but yeah, and I'm poised to have like a whole bunch of stuff like ready to sort of come down. I've been looking at a lot of like shorter games, like Solar Ashes in my my library here, and it's like somebody, I was listening to
Mm.
a little bit of something where they touched on, they're like, yeah, it's basically like Shadow of the Colossus, but a lot more psychedelic. And I'm like, I'm in, like,
Oh,
done. Like, let's go. And
sign
it's
me
only supposed to
up.
be like, like an 8-ish hour kind of game. So yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Which is perfect for that
So
type of game.
yeah, as far as that, like, I mean, like my backlog report is, like I said, it was like, yeah, I was like -3, big scoop energy, and then it was like Teenage Mutant Ninja
Mhm.
Turtles. I was like, boop, like, let's go. And I just, like, I'm gonna throw it out there. I know we've got some dudes who are talking about doing Scott Pilgrim nights, and stuff like that. Shredder's Revenge is also like, I
Yes.
think
Ugh,
I might start a channel in the Discord just to coordinate some, like, some play nights, some community play nights. But eventually we'll get
that's
there.
a good idea.
But yeah, all that being said, um,
Mhm.
let's kind of move on to the plugs for all the folks. So I just gave you the up down on the update, the up down. Wow. Nate Talk Pretty, the up down on Nate Talk Pretty someday.
Up,
The
down.
update, you just got the up
Just
dog.
gave you the up
Uh,
dog on the up on the wait,
what's up, dog?
what is up dog?
What's up,
Uh,
dog?
ha ha gotcha.
Got him.
Oh, I mean, wait. What is
Oh,
up with you?
jeez. Um, so
Anyways,
I've just,
so
we were just
those were
talking about the
updates.
beatdown, right? The backlog beatdown. That's sort of like one of our big sort of gimmicks, or our shticks, right? Is we do this whole thing all year long where we just sort of, it's a tracking system, but it's also the GG app is the official app of the Backlog Beatdown. So if you want to like keep up with all like my purchases and everything that I've been playing and all my acquisitions and all that sort of stuff, you can actually go and check out my profile on the GG app. Charles is a friend of ours. He's a great dude. We
Mhm.
love the app. We love what he's doing over there. And we think that you would like it too. He's doing a lot of really cool stuff. There's a couple different tiers. Like, you can get in on a yearly subscription, or you can do a monthly sub. And as a sort of, in that, I think it's the elite tier is what he calls it. You get access to early builds. So
Mm.
test pilot through iPhone. I don't know what it is through Android, but you get access to like his beta. You can get access to beta builds and premium features that aren't available to the rest of the public. That you get a unique role on his Discord server. It's a cool service. We like it, and we think you would too. Definitely recommend checking it out. Other things that we hope that you might like. Yes, absolutely do it.
Do it.
Do it. Ha.
Do it.
Um, oh, that's Josh channeling Shia LaBeouf. Um, LaBeouf. Um,
Le Bouffe.
but other things, right? Other things. So we were talking about, like,
Some
with the
other
elite
things.
tier, there's all
Yes.
sorts of premium access. So if you like this podcast, right, and you want to go a little bit above and beyond, and you've already done the sharing, the caring, you've already rated, reviewed, and subscribed, and you've told all your friends, and you've done all the things, and you're looking for a way to sort of go above and beyond, right? And again, dude, if you haven't given us a rating and a review, please do. Like, we'll even take a non 5-star review. Like, we're not picky. Just do it. But we have a
Do it.
Patreon, right? And there's a lot of really cool perks to being a patron. Patrons get early access to all the audio feeds. There's an exclusive patron video feed. There's actually an exclusive patron podcast that is locked behind the patron paywall, but we don't ask for any particular subscription. And there's a lot more access to us, like, through the patron, they have their own channel in the Discord. There's a chat on Facebook. Like, they just have more access to us. So if that's something you might be interested in, there you go. There's some options. And we don't ask for any particular, we don't have like tiers or anything. It's just like sort of a tip jar. So give what, if you're interested, check it out. You can check it out for as little as $1 a month. And we think it's cool. And, you might be into that. Lastly, we are members of the Playwell Network alongside Wesley, the Henchadad himself, and Paul, the artist currently known as the Techno Funk Boy. They each have a series of podcasts. Well, not a series. Paul has series upon series upon series of podcasts, and Wes has one.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
but we like their content. We like those guys, and we like them enough, and sort of the way that they approach entertainment and media in general, that we decided to partner with them. And so, we really think we like what they do, and we think that you might appreciate it as well. And so we would really recommend and encourage you to maybe check out their stuff. And with all that being said, here's a word from one of them. Just do it.
Just like Nike. Just do it.
All right. Give me
Just do it.
like a minute or
Do
two.
it.
I need to get some more water. I need
Get
some
it done.
water. My pipes are dry.
Fine.
I've been walking around in the hot sun all day, bud.
You came
I already drank
unprepared
like
in the
a
hot
liter of
sun. In
water.
the hot
Oh,
sun.
a liter of water.
Oh,
Give me a
shoot.
liter of water.
A whole liter. What are you, British?
Oh, it's like
Liters.
30.
Come on.
It's like 34 ounces or whatever.
Drink a gallon.
I do drink
Love
a
your
gallon
country.
sometimes. I should probably drink a gallon more often. But give me like a minute. Let me get some more water, and I'll be right back.
Yeah. Sweet. I'm just giving you crap because it's fun. I'm sorry. I do indeed have my water, my little Ultraman on there. This is my church logo. They gave us these sweet, I think I told you guys, sweet little Yeti cups. And to differentiate it, I put my little Ultraman on there. So everyone knows that I'm weeb trash. I mean, I guess it's not really weeaboo stuff because it's tokusatsu, but it's a chibi Ultraman. So sorry, I'm assuming that you guys can see the video. I guess for you guys who are listening, you can't actually see anything that I'm putting up there. There is a chibi Ultraman sticker that is on my Yeti tumbler that I use for water. And so I did come somewhat prepared. It's only a 20-ounce tumbler. I say only just because I've already drank half of it. Because I do like water, but I should be drinking more of it. In addition to that, I have brought a nice big cup of Diet Dr. Pepper. That's probably like, 24 ounces, maybe 30 ounces. So it's a ton. And in addition to that, I've got the last little bit, because we've had this forever in our liquor cabinet. This is Jonah's Curse Black Spiced Rum. So this stuff, if you've ever had, so black spiced rum, if you've ever had the Kraken, that's what I was thinking that I was getting. And actually at the liquor store, I remember, and again, this was a few years ago, I remember I was looking around just in that, because I like spiced rum. I like rum in general, and spiced rum is my favorite kind. So I was looking around at the liquor store, and a guy comes by, asks, "Hey, can I help you with anything?" And I told him kind of what I was looking for, but looking to, just try new things, see what's there. And he recommended this stuff. I take it home, and I mean, it looks cool. It looks kind of like a knockoff of the Kraken, right? Because it's got the same kind of, again, I assuming you can see the video, but if you can't, it's got the same like style. Of course, this is the large whale, probably a white whale attacking a ship as opposed to a Kraken. And it says authentic Caribbean style black rum with natural flavors and caramel color. And it's 94 proof. So that's 47% alcohol. So it's like it's pretty heavy stuff. And the guy recommended it and it was cheap. It was like maybe $20. I don't know. It was cheap. So I picked it up and I take it home,
What kind of alcohol is
talking about
it? I
this
can't
bottle of
really
alcohol
see.
here. And it's Jonah's Curse black spiced rum. Okay, we're at the very bottom of it because I've had it for probably a few
Mm-hmm.
years at this point. It's been sitting kind of in the back of the liquor cabinet. And the reason for that is not that it's bad, because it's not. It's that I picked it up. It's black spiced rum. It was
Okay.
recommended by the guy at the liquor store. Um, and and I take it home and I taste it, and this stuff tastes like and
Ooh.
sorry, it's 94 proof. So it's 47% alcohol. Yeah, I know. Like for spiced rum, you'd think it's closer to like 35. But it's 47. So it's like not joking around. Um and I was expecting something like the Kraken, if you've ever had the Kraken before. This seems kind of like a knockoff of that. So take a sip of it. It tastes like vanilla extract. And so I'm just like, oh wow, like that's weird. It tastes like vanilla extract, and then it kind of
Hmm.
burns a little bit because it's pretty strong. Um, and so like it's funny. So it's been sitting kind of in the back, and obviously we've drank most of it. So it's not bad at all. It just was not what I was expecting. Where I was expecting more of that kind of like spiced rum, at least the kinds that I like are more the spice is more of like a
Mm-hmm.
almost like a nutmeg kind of spice, not like vanilla, like easy sweetness
Yeah.
kind of a
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense at all, it's more of like yeah, it's more of a spice as opposed to a vanilla. So I just we just haven't had it in a while. So I busted it out. I the last time I remember pulling this out was with some friends who have since moved to Idaho, and that was over a year ago. So this has been sitting in the back of the cabinet. So I pulled some out earlier today and tasted a little bit of it, and I was like, I took a little sip, and I was like, that tastes like a party. Because it's so like easy drinking, still has the burn though, and it just tastes like you could easily go overboard, because it doesn't seem like it's
I like
47% because it's
how
so
you're
like
like it
easygoing.
tastes like a party.
Anyways, I'm
I'm like, okay.
yes, yes, and then my wife tried some and she was like, "Oh wow," and I said that to her as well, because she said like she made a similar comment, like, "That sounds like this tastes like a good
Yeah.
time," or "You have to be careful with that," or something like that, and I said, "It tastes like a party," and she was like, "Yep,
Okay.
exactly," like, you know, all the good and bad that comes with that. So, I'm drinking
Yeah.
that with,
Yeah. I mean
Diet
that
Dr.
sounds
Pepper
like a good
that I
time.
got from Panera Bread.
So we have to.
Mhm.
You're having a
I'm having
party
a
over
great
there.
time.
Um,
So,
Before we get
anyways.
back into it, we have to, and I think in
Yes.
future sort of episodes or as sort of we go forward, like in dealing with the sort of best question or the what is your question um segment.
Mhm.
We'll probably have to sort of like figure that out between us offline prior to recording, like just texting back and forth. But I think for since
Mm.
tonight, just to include it, and so patrons, you're gonna hear all the potential candidates, and then you will hear Josh and I deliberating on to which one is um you know the our candidate. So and just and again, I'll
Mhm.
and when we jump back into it, I'll do a bit of a recap of just sort of the rules or the suggestions for this. But the idea is I mean, I explained it, is to like just get, it doesn't necessarily have to be on topic, because at times we're going to ask for questions on particular games or on particular topics that will not be a part of this. Like this is something else. This is sort of
Gotcha.
something maybe related to the show, just sort of like a weird sort of like, kind of in the vein of like, is a hot dog a sandwich kind of stuff. Like just something that's a little like kind of off the beaten path, but
Mm.
still might be an interesting little like 5-10 minute sort of sidebar. Um, kind of doesn't have to be. No,
Please
they
don't
would
tell
be
me anyone asked
disqualified.
that.
Um,
Okay.
they, uh, uh,
Semantics frustrate me sometimes.
so and Paul actually sort of fired it off with the questions with a GIF, and he says, "Yeah, I have a lot of questions. It's
Okay.
the Kelly from The Office. Number one, how dare you?"
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's it. I'm tempted to actually use that and sort of just because it's like, well, how dare we? And we could sort of maybe talk about some of the sort of the whatever behind it. Um, how do we dare?
How do we
How dare
dare?
we not?
I
And
dare
it's
not
like
to
I
do
think
drugs.
we both have been looking for a way to, and I guess the way that I would engage it is I think we both. Oh, you know what we could do is we could just roll the sort of the deliberation of the questions into the brohang. We would have to do that before the actual recording proper, though. So you know what I'm saying? Like we could just do all the questions, or
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
for the
Mhm.
brohang stuff, or we could just save them for a mailbag. I don't episode. So he threw that one in there, and I would just say, how dare we? How dare we not? How dare we've been looking for an episode or for a way to give back to the community for a while, and this is something kind of cool, and maybe we'll evolve it into something different and more significant and robust at some point in time. I just thought like it was like there was another podcast I was listening to that does something kind of similar. Um, and I was like, well, we could probably do something like that. And but yeah, we
We
dare
dare
to be
devils.
generous.
That's how
We
we dare.
dare to live generously. Um,
Hmm.
so
Oh,
KJ dangerously
dangerously
generous.
generous.
KJVO said, and some of these are we going to get a fuller picture of your time with the military, or is that something you'd rather not talk about? I mean, I could talk about that.
Ah,
That's not
interesting.
I'm not opposed to talking about that. I just it's like, dude, it happened. It was like 20 years ago,
Hmm.
man. I was like, I did 8 years, you know. Um,
Man.
but he sort of talked
Yeah,
about, and he's like, and
that's crazy.
where he's like, he was curious if like my time uh affects if my time in the service affects my approach to first person shooter games. Um, and I was kind of like, not really.
Hmm.
I'm not never been sort of big on that genre to begin with. So also from him got a top 10, 5 or 3 books. Am I annoying? I am really tempted to answer that question. Um I will not make that it's like, dude, do you
Oh no.
I think
Why
you
would you ask that?
I
Come on.
think you
You
know
don't
the
ask
answer to
questions you
that
don't want the
one.
answer to. Come on.
But Wes says he has. Yeah, I mean,
Love you,
I don't know that he'll hear
KVO.
this part.
Love you,
So
bro.
this,
But you're
so
asking
I'm gonna
point blank, and
fire off
that's a
point blank.
tough. That's a tough one.
So Wes has a couple of questions. He says, "I have 2 questions. What would you consider? Number one, what you would you consider to be the crowning jewel, the creme de la creme of your video game collection? Whether it's a rarity, monetary worth, personal love, etc. But
Ah,
what is like the jewel of your gaming collection? That's a pretty interesting one. So that's like
wow.
Paul right now. Paul and Wes, I think, have the
Yeah.
two like. His second one is which of your favorite games do you think deserves a proper film treatment? And I'm kind of like, I don't film and games
Oh.
like. Actually, a Shadow of the Colossus movie, if done
Mhm.
right, would be super dope. All right. I think,
You think so? I don't know
dude,
if you're not, like, experiencing that one, because that's something like Journey where,
you
like,
have to be
you
your
have to
agency
you
sort
that's
of plays
only
like a big
you
part
c
in that. Yeah, you're right.
yes.
I
Yes,
think you
and
could
I
do
feel
so.
like Shadow Colossus is the same way. You know,
Maybe
something like Final Fantasy VI
yeah,
maybe. would be a cool,
Oh,
but
dude, that would
that would have
be,
to be a mini
that would
series.
be
Anyways, that's a
awesome to
whole
get like
yeah.
Final Fantasy 6, like get a Game of Thrones treatment where it's like sort of like this big blown out, like not Game of Thrones, but like a big blown out series where it's like really high production value, lots because there's lots of like you could really flesh out some of the
Right.
intrigue and some of the like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, you need the right
The right people.
people, wow, my goodness. Um, the right pleeples. I don't even know where that's not even that doesn't even sound like a word. Because you have to balance like, the game is
Mhm.
actually pretty comedic, like, it uses those pixel art, the
You
sprites
could
in
you
order
could
to
yeah.
convey some of that stuff, so it can't just be you
Well,
mentioned Game of
I'm
Thrones,
not
and I'm
talking
like,
about
"Ooh,"
like
because it's so
the
different,
level
but
of
I
like or
agree
the
right.
sort of like the depravity. I'm saying more of like the
Yes.
just the giant like
Right.
yeah.
Right. Yeah. I was gonna say something, and I probably shouldn't.
It's
I need to
you're
stop
partying
drinking
too
this
hard,
rum.
bro. Paul actually poses a second question. He says, "What happens if I submit a question late?" Um, the answer is it does not go on that. You fail. You have failed
You
me for the
fail.
last time. We also got some
You fail.
uh nothing.
Amanda.
Ooh.
Like Obi-Wan Kenobi, that's a fail.
Um
Anyway, sorry.
so I'm looking through here. We got some feedback. Trash Turkey and the Backlog Busters sort of uh, pumped out like a
Mhm.
bit of a. They gave us a little bit of a bump when I tweeted out something. So Mike, the Backlog Knight,
Nice.
he asked one. He said, "Okay, shut in the dark here,
Yes.
but what are your favorite places to look for gaming deals, like yard sales, eBay, Xbox Store, Steam, Best Buy, etc." I was like, "Oh, that's a little interesting."
Hmm.
Um, yeah, Turkey's like, what's your guilty pleasure music genre? He says, I'll go first. 90s R&B. Oh, and anything by B&L. Who's B&L? Oh, oh.
Bare Naked Ladies. He's making fun of you, bro.
Ah, you're dead to me. Um, yeah,
That
you
was
kind
great.
of,
Maybe
I'm
that one
good.
should win. Because of his answer, not even
I'm kind of,
not even because of the question.
I'm
Just
kind of
because how
like
he answered
vibing
his
where
own
it's like
question.
that's I think that's kind of like in keeping with the spirit of like I think what I'd like to I don't want them all to be like that. But yeah, no,
Uh-huh.
that's kind of a
Yeah,
fun one to
that's
like
true.
sort of like kick it off with. So what do you think? Like out of all of those,
Mhm. Well, if you were to ask me seriously,
like the creme
I
de la
like
creme?
Wes's questions the most. Um, right. If it were something where it was like I didn't know who was asking these questions and it were purely based on the questions, I think there's an argument to be made that Trash Turkey that was fantastic. I like the little ribbing. And so I like that one a lot, but I think both of Wes's questions were pretty like would start a larger conversation that that are interesting. Because honestly, I've never thought about like what's the one piece of like video game memorabilia that I have that is my
Yeah.
favorite. Um, yeah, that's yeah. So,
Well,
but
here
anyways, those are my thoughts.
I either one of
What are
those.
you
I mean,
leaning
like I
towards?
was thinking Paul's question.
Split it. You get
Uh
250 each. No, I'm just kidding. I'm
I mean,
kidding.
we
No,
could
no,
just
no.
say
250. Come
like
on.
we could just be like
Get yourself
for
a
this first
banana.
one, we'll just give out two hold on. I'm going to flip
You
a
can have 10
coin.
cents. You can have 10 cents.
Yeah.
Ah, a digital
I'm
coin.
I'm
Are you flipping a coin
I'm
online?
all right.
Are you
So,
seriously flipping a digital coin?
let's say heads is turkey, tails is Wes. Or no, tails is turkey, heads is Wes. Turkey tails. All right, here we go. Flip
Turkey
a coin.
tails. There you go.
It's flipping,
Ooh, dun,
flipping,
dun, dun, dun.
tails. Turkey Tales.
Turkey tail.
Woo!
Woo!
Dun, 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 dun,
He's gonna soundboard that,
dun,
isn't he?
dun, 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 dun.
Trash turkey.
So
Eat
turkey,
some trash turkey. Might
y-
break a wall
your
down.
your
Trash
your
turkey.
your
Woo!
levity
I mean, turkey
and your
tails. Woo!
silliness have won the day, mostly because of a digital coin flip. Um, Wesley, is not that your question and all the other guys who might be hearing this, if you ask questions, it's not that your questions were not as good. Well, for some of you, it is your questions were objectively not as good. But yeah, so the whims of fate have chosen you, Turkey. All right, so Turkey's question
Yikes.
will be our inaugural. What is your question? Yeah.
What
Oh, you should
is
do
your
that.
question?
That works. But yeah, do that. Do that. I think
Okay. Yeah.
that sounds like fun. But uh, yeah. Well, all right. Now that we have deliberated and we have sort of settled this issue, it's time. Let's just move, and I'll just go. And we're back. So since it has been more than 2 weeks, and we're kind of at the midpoint of the year,
Hmm.
and I figured we did the trivia the other a couple episodes ago about the top 100, but I also like to do just like sort
Hmm.
of I do want to sort of be regular with sort of every 6 months or so, trying to just sort of talk about like mid-year, sort of looking at the top 100 list in a more serious sort of capacity. And you know, it's
Hmm.
always, yes, being
It's always
regular
good to be
is
regular.
enviable at a certain age.
Hmm. Yeah.
As when you
Right,
start to
right.
get
Especially as you
to
get
my
older,
age,
it's always a
especially,
good thing to.
it is, yes.
Mhm.
We had to make it weird. We made it weird. Like like we're
Immediately.
back
Here I
in
am.
full
We're back,
form.
folks.
We made it weird. But yeah, no. So we have this top 100 list, and like I said a couple episodes ago, we did a bunch of trivium
Hmm.
about it. Like, and that was a good time. But
It's true.
we also, we're halfway into the year, and I thought it might be just not a bad time to sort of talk about some of the stuff we've played, and we sort of were doing some of that with our backlog report and everything else. We were sort of talking about some of that stuff. But
Mhm.
out of what you've played so far this year, Josh, do you have like any really strong contenders for this year's for the top 100 list so far? And I'm just, you know,
Yeah, well, I mean, immediately the things that come to mind are the things that I have played very recently, which were Hades and Dragon Quest XI.
mhm.
Now, obviously, Hades is on the list already and quite high. So again, I don't know that I would bump it up any higher at this point, but I do enjoy it quite a bit. As I look back on the list of games that I have otherwise played this year, like I mentioned, Puzzle and Dragons, I would not, force onto the list. Pokemon Sword, I would not either. A Plague Tale: Innocence, I've kind of given my 2 cents on that, and I don't think it's a top 100 game. While I did enjoy it, I do think it has some flaws there.
The
River City
eternal
Ransom's already on the
100.
list,
Yes.
but another one, yes, yes, that will not be barfed out of the list. That will stay there. But the one that does pop up that did not immediately come to mind is Final Fantasy 9.
Well,
Do we
here
have
I
that one
actually
on here at
pulled
all?
that up. I pulled the
I
list
don't
up
know that we
earlier,
do.
and we can just sort of run through it at the bottom here, real quick. Is it? It's not on
We
there.
don't. We don't. The Final Fantasies we have are 6, Tactics 4, Yeah, 6 tactics and 4, which are all great entries. Which are all great entries. But man, 9
Pretty
is
great.
also great.
So let's look at so
So,
we have
ah,
6. And
it
again,
needs
we
a
don't have to
place.
settle this, but I think it's good to sort of
Mhm.
have maybe some preliminary conversations.
Right.
So 6 is at number 4.
Mhm.
Okay. Um I'm looking. Tactics is
Yes.
at 20. Where is 4?
4 is
Okay.
down at
All right.
29. At 29. And, I had my bite-sized
Mhm.
about ranking the Final Fantasy games, and while I did rank Final Fantasy 4 pretty highly, personally, it didn't hit me the same way that it hit a lot of people. I did not play it when it first came out, and so I do think there are some big flaws. While I respect the game for what it did, I think it was a trailblazer in many
Mhm.
ways. Active time battle system and the story that it told. Um, I also think it's a flawed game in a few different respects, and so I'm not as hot on Final Fantasy IV just in general. Um, so
Yeah.
so I
I
mean,
mean,
I don't mind it
4 is the
being the
one
lowest
that
out of all
like
of them.
I enjoy 4, right? And I think it probably
Okay,
has the most coherent story in comparison to like 6 and Tactics especially. But as far as I mean, Six's
interesting.
storyline, frankly, I like Six's storyline better. But I'm just saying, like, 4 sort of it can get a
Mhm.
little epic, but it has like sort of a it's
Yeah.
not as sort of far ranging or convoluted, maybe as some of the other ones. And I think it's frankly it's sort of the same. Like 9 actually kind of reminds me a lot of 4 in that it's not a very complicated game in a lot of ways. It's sort of very um
Yeah.
it's not pretentious. It's a little self-aware. It doesn't take itself too seriously. And it has a story that it tells. And frankly, I would put like 4 and 9 in sort of a similar vein of Final Fantasy where they both are sort of like a little more optimistic. They're a little
Huh.
more like hopeful. They're a little more like sweet and tender. Like and out of the two, if I have to pick, like I'd rather have 9. No, that's not saying that we actually have to do that. It's just saying
Mhm.
like if we had to.
Right.
And I don't know. I 9 dude, after we played 9, like I love 6 even, right? But I really like 9. 9 9 might be my favorite one, dude.
Wow.
Like and again, some of that could be like recency bias because I haven't played 6
Wow.
in a long time. But
Yeah.
I remember going through 9 and yeah, like I was like, "Man, this game is so stinking good." Like it's like I said,
Mhm.
I think Paul's called it an S tier sort of Final Fantasy. And I think especially with the quality of life stuff that's
Yes. Yeah.
available with like the the current gen sort of iteration of it, it's it's a
Yep.
phenomenal game. And there's like it's arguably I think the best example of like old school Final Fantasy. Um That's just me. That's just me. Like
Okay.
I want to find a way to put it on here, and I'm just sort of looking around because I think like I do want to sort of keep
Mhm.
like a bit of just some of the I don't know spirit of the uh the list. Like I don't want to just sort of like
Yeah.
dump out everything in here. Like, I don't know. I don't know where I'd put like I'd like to see it get on there.
Mhm.
I'd like to see it be fairly high. Um, but I just don't
Uh-huh.
know where I would put it, honestly. Like,
So Yeah, so here's another conundrum though, and I pronounced that weird, sorry, is
I
that
know, and that's
we
kind of
already have
why, like, I'm
3
talking
Final
about,
Fantasy
like, if we
games.
put it on there, I feel like we have to drop one of them.
Yeah, and that's the hard thing because we did this thing. We had this conversation about Link's. Excuse me, I said Link's
Mhm,
Awakening, the Legend of Zelda series. We have 3 on there. There are arguably
mhm,
some very deserving games in the Legend of Zelda series that should be on this list. Some, immediately the one that comes to
mhm,
mind is A Link to the Past. That's a fantastic game, and that's one that really, as I think about it,
mhm,
I ought to replay it to see if I still love it as much as I used to, and maybe to make a case to put
mhm,
it back on the list. Um, they just have so many fantastic games, and so it almost feels unfair to have to put 4 Final Fantasy games on here when we can't put 4 Legend of Zelda games because we have a
mhm.
lot of other JRPGs as well. But then, yeah, do you want to drop Final Fantasy 6 or Tactics or 4? Like those are kind of difficult. Again, uh, I would be understanding to
Mhm.
drop 4 in that case. Tactics is another one where I feel like I probably ought to replay that because honestly, I'm fueled by
But the
nostalgia
thing
in
with
that one. I
tactics though
haven't played it in
too
a very long
is,
time.
like,
I just have
that's a
very, very
massive
fond
time
memories.
investment. Like, that's a huge time sink. Um,
Yeah, yeah, right,
yeah,
right.
let's
I just want to replay
well,
everything. Let's
and
do it
then
all.
but
These are
then
all great games.
you're
Let's
not,
just play them all.
and that's sort of like that is like the conundrum of the show, right? Or just the premise of our podcast is
Yeah.
like, so we have all
Hmm.
these games that we want to beat down our backlogs and break down the benefits and all this other stuff, but like, dude, like sometimes looking at this top 100 list, I'm like, man, there's so much stuff I want to go back to and just play again. Like even listening, like when we're talking about Hades, I just want to go back and play
Yes.
Hades again. I'm like, it's like I want to go back and play, like, I want to go back and
Yeah.
play Hollow Knight again. I want to go back and play Ori again. Um, like
Hmm.
I want to go back and play all these
Yes.
games again because they're
Oh,
so
yes,
stinking
all
good.
of these.
Um,
Dude, yeah, looking at the list, like, I wanna go play an
oh
hour of Spider-Man, PlayStation 4, and that wasn't even
yeah.
that long ago that I played that one, you know? Like, not that I wanna play through the whole game again, but that game was fun. I wanna go spend an hour with it, you know? Like, I wanna spend an
Yeah,
hour in
Doom
Doom
2016,
2016.
just
Jeez, all these
yeah,
games are
and that's
so good.
and even talking about RPGs, like Dragon Quest 11, like I'm like it belongs on this list, but you know what? Okay, and this is
Oh,
where
yes.
it's like, I know I have fought for the original Dragon Quest to be sort of remain on this list, but I would say like that
Yeah,
would be the one where I'd be like, it could go Dragon Quest 11, like, but yeah, but where would, like,
give it
to
the
me,
boot.
dude, like Dragon
Yeah.
Quest 11 is easily within top 20. Um, and
Yeah.
I'm just looking at it.
Yeah, yes, it's just so the difficulty is like you said, it is so mechanically um
But
I was going to say
that is
basic,
kind of
but
like
that
part of the
that sounds
charm.
almost
It's
that
also,
word
yeah, it's
classic.
like this is like
Classic is a better
peak
word, you know?
vintage, like like Dragon Quest, and
Yes. Oh,
it's kind of like
that captures
one
it
of
much
those
better.
things where I'm looking at the list. I would be really comfortable at sliding in at as the new like 21, like because I just
Okay, yes, yeah, because even looking at Final Fantasy Tactics, it's like, "Oh, is it better than Tactics?" Like, I don't know. I agree. That's a to me, that's an easy spot to put it in where, like, if we wanna have more conversation, we can about the games that are above it, if we wanna push it higher,
I
but
mean, and
yeah,
that's
I think
yeah,
that's slide it right in there. But I agree, we have to take another one because we have the 1st,
and
the 8th, and the 5th entries in there, and I agree, I
five,
would
8, and
go 5
11
and 8
are like, I
over
love
the
the
original.
original one, but like if you're like I'm like play 11, play
Right.
8, play 5. Like those those are the ones that so far have just been like hands down like just, rocking socks. Um what else do we have on
Mhm.
here? So yeah, Hades is it's already on the list. Link's Awakening is already on the list. I have to finish that still and just sort of
Mhm.
um if I ever get around to beating Returnal, I think there's a and I know that you haven't played it, but that's like one of those things where I'm like, I think like it's sort of
Mhm.
similarly to Hades, and I love the game. I probably don't like it as much
Mhm.
as Hades, but I think like I could make a strong argument for why something like that belongs. Um, it's got really good
Mhm.
sort of it's kind of arcadey. It's got some really like good sort of third person shooting going on. I don't know. It's a really I don't know where I'd put it. I feel like that's sort of in the conversation for me. And as much as like and I mentioned this before, but like Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, as much as it's like one of those games where I don't really recommend it, I could
Mhm.
actually see it sort of like bumping something like actually just Far Cry 3. Um, just because I think
Yeah.
I'm really kind of right now, and maybe this is something that would be subject to change, but like the idea, like I'm really enamored with the idea of sort of that Far Cry experience but just sort of not as long. And so you have like this standalone DLC like
Yeah.
Primal and Blood Dragon and stuff like that, where I'm like, yeah, this actually is really appealing because it's like you get sort of like that open world sort of like Ubisoft kind of game experience, just not at the cost of like it being so stinking huge that you just get like open world fatigue. I don't know. Um, I think it's like, and I haven't beaten
Mhm.
that one yet, but that's, I mean, as far as like everything else I played, because like, dude, I played a bunch of like, okay stuff. Sort of pulling up my list here. Sexy Brutale was really good. Um, that could potentially maybe go in for like towards the bottom half as like a really interesting, like, um, uh, puzzle game kind of entry. I don't know where I'd put it in
Yeah.
there because I'm just kind of looking at things. I'm like, okay. Like, it's sort of like I'm not suggesting, but it's like it's kind of like it's a puzzle kind of point and click adventure kind of game that I dig. But again, I'm not sure it's like top 100
Okay.
material. I'm just saying like if it did go on there, it'd go on towards the bottom. Neo 2 and all of the DLC for that, I'm like, I love that game. And I think it's actually on here already, isn't it? I would actually
The original
put
Neo is
Neo
number
2 in
73.
its place. Um, that just me personally.
Okay.
I think Neo
Yeah.
2 uh is a bit of a better game. The Isle of Dragon Roars, the Isle Dragon Roars or whatever that weird card game thing. That's fine, but that nah. My
Uh-huh.
name is Mayo. No, hard pass. That game is trash. I hate it. I kind of hate myself for playing it.
Trash game.
Um, then like I said, Division 2, it's
Oh,
just
that's
like
awesome.
it's fine. Division 2, like I would sort of if something like that, it might sort of fit like the Destiny 2 kind of vibe where it's like that sort of that multiplayer. It's I think it's a
Mhm.
really great sort of multiplayer game, but I don't know like and I don't
Mhm.
know if like even though I have little to no experience with Destiny, Destiny 2 and all that stuff like that, sort of frankly, I think uh is Destiny 2 still on here? Do we end up yanking that? I see Diablo
That's a good
2, I see
question.
I
I
think
know it was at one
Dying Light
time.
bumped that.
It's not. It's
I
not.
think I'm way more comfortable with like Dying
Okay.
Light being sort of filling some of that spot anyways. Um yeah.
So just because you mentioned My Name is Mayo, have you ever played, this is a browser game.
Candy
Have you ever
Box
played
2.
Candy Box 2?
Can't say that I have. I'm going to Google it.
Mhm.
The- Candy.
Okay.
Is it like a click game?
Cuz yes, it is. And it's actually really good for what it is. Like, it hooked me for the time that I played it. Um, and it's definitely one that kind of plays itself in the background at times. But it's surprisingly, like, the things that it does, I was surprised at how well it did them. So if there's a gag game, sorry, you're talking about My Name is Mayo, right? I am Mayo, whatever. Um, and I think this is a game that sounds like it's in that style. I don't know anything about the mayo game. I don't like mayonnaise, so I wouldn't care to play
I'm
it anyway.
actually playing
Um,
Candy Box
but
2, and
Candy
it's just
Box
like
2 is
eat
actually
all the
good.
candies. I've eaten 24 candies. I've thrown 10 on the ground.
Yes.
I'm gonna throw 10 more on the ground
Uh-huh.
now.
It's yeah. It'll take you a while. Like, actually, after we're done
Yeah.
recording, you can go to bed, come back to it, and you can do some stuff. Like, it's actually pretty cool. I would recommend it. If we're gonna have like a gag clicker
You
game
would
like that on here, I would vote Candy Box, but probably because that's pretty much the only one that I've played. So I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know if there are better ones out there.
Um
Anyways, that just popped in my head, and I said
yeah.
it into the
And that's what
microphone
we
because
do.
we're recording the podcast.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
know, like everything else I've played so far this year, I'm kind of like, eh. It's been a lot of revisiting old content. River City
yeah,
Ransom,
yeah, right.
replaying
Very good.
yeah, even sort of like revisiting Ori, like, and that's okay. Like that's fine. And
Hmm.
like I said, I'm about to sort of like enter into a bit of a season where I'm about to chew up a bunch of like shorter games. But yeah, I just
Okay. Okay. See, for me, it's been different in that I kind of stalled out for quite a while, where I was just playing Dragon Quest 11,
yeah.
but only here and there a little bit, not very much. I really kind of not burnt myself out, but I really went hard with Shin Megami Tensei 5. And I just didn't spend very much time playing video games lately. Whereas now I'm getting into kind of a different rhythm. Like I said, when I'm on the elliptical, I spend time on the Switch. Um, but I still want to spend time, with something like Ori where I have it on PC. I need to set aside time in order to do that. So I'll find ways to do that. But it's kind of been like there was a big dip where I wasn't playing much at all. Whereas right now it feels like it's ramping up a bit more because of my time with the Switch on the elliptical. So yeah, my experience this year has been different. Like, I remember looking back at my score and I'm like, wow, I'm like not playing very much
Yeah.
at all, which is fine for,
Yeah.
there, we all have different seasons. But that's been what my year has been. And then, like, looking back and hearing about games, I'm just like, oh, I want to play this. I want to play that. I'm always kind of bouncing between, like,
Well, and I think
man, this
that
just
is
sounds so
something that's
good.
sort
And
of been
so I
interesting.
need
Like
to,
I'm glad that we added the sort of like the you can so like with Final Fantasy 9, like I like the old game sort of
yes,
ruled. It's like one game per season that you can sort of just score out. And I was like, I'm glad we did that. Because
yes,
it sort of does encourage me to sort of play more of what I own and just like things I haven't already played. But at the same time, like lets me revisit stuff.
yeah,
And of course, like if I play Hades, like and I get the platinum trophy, I can take a negative one, because of the completion there. But
right.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
I
So, as I'm looking at this
all right.
list, there are a few suggestions that I'd like to suss out with you if you don't have any. The first of which being, as I go from bottom up, At number 78, we have a little game called Sonic Mania. What would you say about
I don't
moving that
care.
to
I hate
99?
Sonic.
Well, and that's why. It's almost out of spite. It's right above Shin Megami Tensei 4, and I think that's a travesty. It's above Xenoblade, which feels weird to me. It's above Dark Souls and
Mm,
Hyper Light Drifter. I kind of just want to knock it down a peg. And I say that because I did play a little bit of Sonic 2 with my kids after we watched the movie Sonic 2, just to show them what the video game was like. Um, and while it's fun to play, the bit that I've played out of it, which was like the first like 3 acts, something like that. Not very much, not the whole game, but I played a little bit of it.
yeah.
And I'm not one who's played a ton of Sonic. I've played a little bit here and there. I've enjoyed it. You're
Yeah.
kind of playing a movie. There's not much to it, and it's much more about the spectacle than it is the gameplay, in my humble opinion. From the little bit that I've played. Now, I understand there's a lot more that you can do. You get the Chaos Emeralds, you get the better endings. You can really dive into it a bit more, which is cool. But it's also it is a very
Yeah,
simple
I
one
just
button
like
video
and
game.
it's I think it's a very different approach to platforming. And platformers are just not my I don't care about them. I'm not like if it's just like the if
Interesting.
the
Okay.
primary sort of thing is just platforming, I'm I'm just kind of at a point where I'm like, I don't
Yeah.
care. Like,
Our number one game of
well,
all
that's
time
different
says
because
differently,
it's
but okay.
the greatest game of all time. Um Yeah, no, I'm just saying, like, as a general rule, platformers, like, don't do anything for me, really.
Yeah,
And maybe it's because, like, Super Mario
gotcha.
Brothers 3 has ruined all the other platformers.
I mean,
Um,
that's certainly a thing. Mega Man
yeah,
X is
but,
definitely
like,
up there
I would
too,
say,
but
like, too, with, like, Mega Man
I
games,
could
it's
see it.
sort of a run and gun. It is a platformer, but there's actually a bit of a combat element too. And I'm talking about something like
Right. Okay.
Celeste,
Okay. I see what you're
where it's
saying.
just
Yeah,
like,
pure
"Just get through
platforming.
this level," and I'm like, "No, thanks." Like,
Mhm.
I'm out. Like, cool. Like, I like good platforming as part of
Yeah.
another game, but if it's like this is like the big mechanic, I'm
Mhm.
just kinda like, "Eh, that's fine. It's not for me."
Yeah.
Um, so, yeah, I mean, and I think
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, I've never like, I don't hate Sonic games, but they're not all
Okay.
that fun to me. It's like at best they're like kind of like fine,
Okay.
yeah. So I'm cool with
Yeah.
throwing it at 99 for now.
Yeah.
I will probably try and make it a
Okay.
point to play it at some point
Okay.
in time in the
Then
next like maybe this year. I'm not gonna guaranteeing anything, but
mhm. Okay. Okay. Cool. We can do that and have ourselves a little laugh. Um because I agree. I do want to play it as well. I do think there's a number of things that like
hmm
Sonic games do look really good. Like don't get me wrong. When I say that you're playing a movie, I say it in the same sense of like Uncharted, where it's a fun game. Like they're good games, there's just not much to them. Where I mean, you can explore a bit in
What are you
Uncharted,
talking about? Nathan
and you
Drake
can explore a
murders
bit
like
in
hundreds
Sonic
of
too. So
dudes
I
every
don't know.
game.
I don't know. Whatever.
Like Uncharted is a psychopath
That's very
simulator.
true. He does. I mean, yeah, Psycho Indie,
Yeah, yeah,
Indie.
yeah.
Sorry,
I
Indiana
got what you were
Jones
saying
is
there,
what I'm
buddy.
thinking. Anyways, it, awesome. Sonic.
Mhm.
It also has really good music. Okay, I have to props where props are due, and I like the character of Sonic. Although he's certainly been tarnished with a lot of bad games, but I do think he's a nice little spunky character, and I enjoy that. Anyways, so Sonic Mania is 99. Okay, some of the there was another one that jumped out at me too that okay, I think we've had this conversation before. Have you ever played Astrobot Rescue
Uh,
Mission?
I have played some of it. I did. I did. Okay, so here's the thing. I did like
Okay,
when
okay.
Parker brought his VR over, I played like a level, and the
Mhm.
level that I played was
Okay.
awesome. I have not played the entirety of the
Mhm.
game,
Yep.
and it's like one of those things. Like I know it's
Okay.
super gimmick heavy, and it that requires the VR. And actually, that's one of the things. That's like I want to play more VR um m- this year. I'd like to actually
Okay.
I'd like to do
Yeah.
Astrobot, and I'd like to do Moss because I want to pick up the Moss book 2
Okay.
at some point in
Yep.
time. But before I do that, because like I don't know if you heard that game has not sold really well, uh, which is kind of sad. It makes me it's a
Oh,
real
man.
bummer in my
That's a
opinion,
shame.
and I might just at some point in time just spring for it just to sort of like throw some weight behind it. But it's just like I don't think Sony did a great job of like really advertising for it or like pushing it. Um,
Okay, so this is a whole side conversation, but the fact that it's
mhm.
VR, I think hampers it as well. Like VR
Well,
just has not caught on. I mean, and I think there are some amazing VR experiences, but like it's
it's
been a
the
kind
thing
of a
is
wasteland. You know, you spend an extra few $100s on
no,
this
there's
thing
more than
and there
that.
are 15 games to
I would say
play.
there's a substantial VR library for like the Oculus. And I'm really hoping with this next gen like
Okay.
PSVR 2, they really sort of like start punching, but it is really
Yeah.
gimmicky. And that's the problem. Because there's some people who put it on and
Yeah.
they get like they're
Yeah.
like instant they're just ready to barf. Um it is
Right.
expensive. Like
Yeah.
VR is like one of those things that like when Parker brought it
Yes.
over, I was really like, "Oh no, maybe we'll see, maybe someday." But then he brought it over and I played it and I was like, "This is sick." Like, but it really does
Yeah.
require that you
Yes.
have access to it in order to be sold on it. And yeah, it's just like one of those things that
Right.
like yeah, and PSVR as it stands is like fine, but there are a lot of like really like you've got Oculus, like or the Meta Oculus or whatever, you've got better headsets right now. Even so, yeah, we'll see.
Uh-huh.
I like Astrobot. I'm like leave it alone. It's the bit I played is pretty awesome, and I think honestly, if I sit down and I just play the game, I'm gonna come back and be like, yeah, this thing's super dope. It's better than like you know, it's like because I mean it might be gimmicky, but I've also heard like it's just a ton of fun. And what I played is really like the level that I played. It's not I don't have I have not played the game through like from start to finish on my own. Um, the level that I played was really cool,
Mhm.
and so yeah.
Mhm. So that's the problem
Where
that
is
I
it?
have with it being so high on the list. Not that I would
Mm,
take it off. It's number 26 or number 27, excuse me, because we put in Dragon Quest 11. So it's number 27 right now. I would argue that it should be bumped to like 50 or 75 just because of how little we've played. I've never touched it. And and again, I agree with you. I've heard amazing things about it. I've heard that like this is the pinnacle of VR
it's one of the
right
best.
now. You
It's
know,
one
like
of the
or
best
when it was released,
implementations
it's
of
like this
VR.
is the
Yeah.
VR game to play. Yes. Yes. Just like the what is it? The Playroom, I think one was like the perfect game to
Oh
show
yeah,
you the
Astro's
new
Playroom. Yeah,
PlayStation 5 controller. So like I understand.
Astro's Playroom is
Okay, it is still
really
Astro. Awesome.
a phenomenal little like
That's what it
3D
does.
platformer kind of game. Like I
Okay.
actually enjoyed it way more than I enjoyed Super Mario Odyssey. Like I liked it way more. Um,
Okay.
it was just
Okay.
more fun. Like
Yeah.
there's some parts of it that I was like not sold on,
Nice.
but overall, like it was a game came
Mhm.
like I played it. I was like, and I enjoyed my time with it, and then it didn't overstay its welcome, and then I was done with it. And it was I got the platinum and I moved on. But I had a good time the entire time. So
Mhm.
so yeah.
Nice.
Um
What would
Astro's
you say
rescue
about bumping
mission.
it
I
down
mean, I put it
lower?
like 50 maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
50?
50.
Okay, then we can
And
agree on
when
that. Let's just bump it to
hopefully
50.
I'll actually play it this year and then I can come back and be like, okay, no, yeah, dude, this thing's like the bee's knees. Or it's like, yeah, this is a fine place for it. So, yeah.
Yes. Sweet. Okay, those were the two kind of glaring thing I mean, there are other minor ones, I don't care for things like StarCraft, that's on here. I recognize and I respect it. It's just nothing and I will never get into that game. That's all. So it's at 63, again, above Shin Megami Tensei 4, above Xenoblade, above Persona 3, things like that, where it's a little bit me just being kind of petty, um, of like it should not be this high on this list. But outside of that, those were the two things. Sonic
Hmm.
and the Astrobot.
Yeah. I actually had Candy Box 2 running in the background and um
Yeah.
and then I was like I was
You're
like I did
welcome.
yeah, I'm looking at this. I'm just I don't see anything where I'm like immediately like we need to get rid of this thing or like move it. I'm just kind of like I am looking at this and I'm like, man, I there's so many games I want to go back and play again. Oh.
Yes, yes, that's the problem. When we prepped for the game that we did with all 100 of these, with our top
Hmm.
100, I'm just like, man, that's good. Man, that's good. Man, that's it. I want to play some Yoshi's on. Again, it is not even like I've played that game through so many times that like I don't need to play through it, but a nice hour on my Super Nintendo Mini, that would be so much fun. And actually, that's a game that I could play with Ollie, or at least with him around. That would be fun. He would enjoy that, and I would enjoy that. We would both enjoy that together. So that would be that would be a good time. Yeah. Okay. So the other one, actually, now that I'm looking at Yoshi's Island, is Fallout New Vegas. I've just never played it, and it's at 31. But I'm not going to put up a stink about that. I've heard it's a really good game. That just seems awfully high to me, but
Hmm.
I've never played it. So there you go.
I just don't have any strong feelings about the list right now. Like I said, it's like I think it's useful to sort
Yeah.
of like come back and do sort of like a mid-year sort of review and refresh. But yeah, I think the one
Sweet.
thing that I would just sort of like maybe sort of propose is that like I said, Far Cry 3, like maybe replacing it with like the Blood Dragon DLC. Just because I think like, and as much as I enjoyed Far
Yeah.
Cry 3, it's been a long time since I played it, right? But just the
Mhm.
Blood Dragon is sort of like it's just a distillation of that experience in sort of a much more sort of manageable size. I don't know. Now, again, there's the whole like super sweary bits, and honestly, I think like the setting is just super
Right.
ridiculous, and I kind of love it. I mean, like when I'm
Yes.
throwing like the
Yeah.
bionic hearts to attract like the actual blood dragons to have them like attack a base and stuff like that. It's ridiculous. It's I don't know. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't really have. I'm just kind of like, yeah. I was like, I thought maybe we should talk about like potentially, like I said, where's 9 go? Where's Dragon Quest 11 go? Um, but
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we never kind of landed the plane with 9. What
Paul might be outraged. I'm
do
saying
you
just
have
get
any?
rid of 4.
What do you
Put
want to
9
throw
on
out
there.
there?
Put in 9,
4 and put in 9
and
instead and set it
I
there for
just
now.
think,
And our
yeah,
patron
Paul will
counts just dropped
shame
by
us. He'll
1.
be like, "I need to record another episode just talking about why Final Fantasy IV is the best." I'm like, "Oh, dude, it's just like, yeah, it's good. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna." Uh,
Right, right,
no,
and I hope I've
it's a
never come off as saying that it's
it's a good
not
game.
good
It's just
because it
like
is.
not my
It just
favorite. I'm like, it's fine. Um,
mhm. I think the stronger argument would be why are we capping
because
series at 3 entries
there's a
when there
hundred.
really are some
You only have
deserving.
100 games, right? And at some point in time, especially like when you have like
Right.
15, 16 entries in a franchise, like you could
Mhm.
arguably put like almost all of the Legend of Zelda games on here. And it's like,
Right. Exactly. Zelda is the one that stands out to me as, like, so many of those games are fantastic,
but like I
are
you know what? I'm
almost like
actually looking at the
must-play
list
games.
here, and Overwatch is at 52. And I'm
Mhm.
not saying we need to do anything
Yeah.
because actually I think it kind of fits um a sort of a particular vibe, but I'm kind of also, like, looking at that and I'm
Mhm.
saying, like, "Yeah, we might it might at some point in time, it might be okay to just sorta, like, be like, 'Nah, you know what? You get yanked because we have Rocket League there." I'm not saying that we need to do it
'Kay.
anytime soon, and
Right.
frankly, I would rather see something like, I really like
Mhm.
Overwatch, and I'm not even advocating, but I'm looking at it, I'm saying, like, "Oh, yeah, I don't know if I like it that much, anymore. I don't know if I've just cooled so much on the game or
Mhm.
whatever, but and then there's a whole lot of, like, stupid shenanigans going on with Overwatch 2 and everything else, so, um oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's some, all kinds of, drama going on in that world. Yeah. In my mind, in the list, Overwatch and Rocket League were tied together, like some of the other kind of twins that we have on the list, like Horizon Zero Dawn and Breath of the Wild. You know how they're just like always right next to each other, is like that's the section, Overwatch and Rocket League, for
Yeah.
that kind of online multiplayer component, kind of co op thing. And so to me, it feels like those games are together. But those are also two games that I've never touched Overwatch, honestly. I've played a little bit of Rocket League enough to
Oh,
know that
Rocket
I
League,
completely suck at it and that I would need to
dude,
spend
like
time in
well, and
order to get good.
I would like to maybe find a way to, like, work in some more casual games, but then you have, like, things like Fall Guys, um, which
Yeah.
is supposed to like, I had a lot of fun with it. It's
Right.
definitely not my type of game, but yeah,
Mhm.
I don't know. But
Okay.
I think, I
Yep.
think for just as far as, like, sort of like a mid-year sort of refresh thing, and dude, this stupid candy box too, I hate it.
Hmm.
Um, I hate it because I
You hate
just
it
keep
because you love it.
doing this, and I'm just like, why do I keep it just keeps I'm just gonna let it keep running. Um,
Yeah, yeah. It's
it's
surprisingly good. My older brother turned me on to it, but this was, like, a few years ago.
it is
A few years ago,
that's
many
a
years
few,
ago.
but I think, dude, we've sort of
Um,
like, I mean, we knew we were coming into this and we were gonna
I
pretty
agree.
much
It's a
just like
good.
use most of it for the backlog report, and it's been, um, but
Yeah, yeah, there's lots to report on. We've done that. We've taken a look at the games that we've played this year, and we have played some really good games. Both of us pretty hyped on, Dragon Quest XI. It
yeah,
lives up to its,
yeah,
highly praised status in
I'm
my
looking
mind.
forward
And again,
to
I've only
sort of
played the first 2
coordinating
acts.
that episode and getting Wes and seeing if we can find a
Mm,
time that works for the both of them to
diving
just
deep.
like carve out a couple hours to talk about it because it's a fantastic game. But
Mm,
I think it's
I
time to
agree.
start start landing the plane. And so in doing that, we are going to and we had I think maybe mentioned some of this, and if you're on the Discord, you sort of know that this is coming. We're going to be adding some segments and bits back in. And so one of the things as we sort of like start landing the plane, um,
Mhm.
well, Josh, I think you might have a question that you need a question that you need
I
to ask.
do. Yeah, my question is, what is your
I
quest,
appreciate that.
Sean?
I appreciate the dedication to that.
What is
I'm
your
really kind of
question?
like I'm liking that. I'm liking that. So what were you?
Mhm. I'm wondering next time how many people are gonna ask what our
Mm,
favorite
or
color is.
what
That's gonna
is
be tricky. But
the
anyways,
velocity of
until
it?
then,
Yeah,
African
yeah.
at the flight velocity, yes.
So
An African
what we
swallow.
are doing here, and this is sort of born out of a there's another podcast that does something similar to this, and I thought this is kind of a good idea. It's a way to sort of give back to the community at the same time, maybe
Mm.
foster and engender a little bit more
Yeah.
interactivity. And so what we're going to do going forward is like at the sort of as we begin the wrap up of every episode here, Josh is going to sort of we're going to go into the what is your question segment. And we're going to actually just encourage people to sort of submit questions. And we might use some of them for a future mailbag episode at some point in time or whatever. But some of it is just going to be like, ask us a question. And if we like your question enough, we're going to read it on air and then we're gonna hook you up with $5, like or some swag or something. Like we're gonna sort of like evolve this thing, but I think for now we're just gonna like turkey. Well, I guess I'm spoiling it, but we got a number of questions, and some of them were okay. We had a couple that were like strong candidates, but in the end, the trash turkey, the incredibly inedible trash turkey, posed this question and he said, and we thought that this was appropriate for the inaugural. Uh, what is your question? Question. Uh, so the trash turkey on Twitter asks, "What's your guilty pleasure music genre?" And he just meant guilty pleasure music genre. And then he says, "I'll go first. '90s R&B. Oh, and anything by BNL, which is the Bare Naked Ladies." I see what you're doing there, Turkey, and I don't appreciate it. I didn't see it, then Josh pointed out to me, and then it's, then we both super appreciated it.
And then we both
Um,
appreciated it.
but yeah, so what is your guilty pleasure
It's
music
true.
genre, Josh?
Okay, so this is an interesting one. I don't know that I would say it's an entire genre, um, but there are certain bands in it that do styles of music that I wouldn't generally like, but for some reason this band does it, and I'm just like, wow, I like. There's something about this that I really like. One of which is dance rock with the first album by Two Door Cinema Club. I just love it, and it's not a great album. There's some cool things about it, but it's just like this dance rock stuff that I don't typically listen to that got under my skin. The other one that comes to
Mhm.
mind is electronic dance music
Okay, yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
by this band called Churches. Their first album, again, it's like I don't know why I like this, but I really like this album by Churches, and I can't the Mother We Share is one of the songs on the album. I can't remember the name of the album offhand. Um, but man, I know they have other albums that I haven't been quite as big on, but their first album just, like, got under my skin. The Bones of What You Believe, that's what it's called, 2013, The Bones of What You Believe. So, it's not even, like, a genre. I don't typically like electronic dance music. It's that album, for some reason, I'm just like, I don't know what it does that's different. I don't know what it is about it,
Yeah.
but I really like it.
I yeah,
So that's what comes to mind for me.
and anything by
And
BNL,
anything by BNL.
it's the worst. the worst.
No, not at
Um,
all.
oh, oof,
Oh, and Smash
oof.
Mouth.
I would say I
Threw up in
have
my mouth a
so
little bit.
and maybe this is it's not really a guilty pleasure sort of thing, but because I don't really it's like you like what you like, and
Mhm.
sometimes you just like, yeah, I recognize this is not very good. I have two sort of answers, and again, not genres, but like I tend to be sort of like when I listen to music, um, it's a lot of like video game soundtracks or so I like stuff like
Okay.
Anamanaguchi, um, and like the chip tunes and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Really, like just Anamanaguchi is like for anybody listening, they did the Scott Pilgrim soundtrack, which is the video game soundtrack, which is amazing.
Mhm. They turned original Game Boys into guitar pedals, and they run their guitars through original Game Boys
Dude,
to get, like,
their
these
stuff
certain
is
sounds.
awesome.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, they're
but
crazy.
yeah, like I have a bit of a soft spot for like EDM, Daft Punk, like some of that stuff.
Okay.
But I really like early Eminem. Like I I am not a rap
Ah,
guy.
interesting.
It's just never been like a genre, but like and I have listened to some. I also like Aesop Rock, who is sort of like he's like an indie rapper kind of, and
Okay.
and Sage Francis and a couple others. But um, also like I like hip hop and I like rap a little bit, but I don't listen to a ton. But Eminem's like first couple albums, like I will spin those. I'll put them in and I'll spin those up and like
Okay.
I'll rock out to them because like that dude's just like he's savage on the mic and it's like fun to just listen to him just
Mhm.
uh it's just like he's kind of a messed up dude and maybe that's why I like him. I don't know. But I would say and I still like for the other side of that though is like and it's not even the art like a significant part of the artist's discography, but Shake It Off by Taylor Swift, dude, that song comes on and I just bop around like an idiot. Like I love that song. I don't know why.
Nice.
I
Nice.
shake off all the haters,
Shake
bud.
all them haters off.
It's
Come
just
on.
like it's fun. It's like a fun little bop, and it's like I don't really like any of her other music, um, but that song, like I'm like it's fun, it's fun. It's feel good pop, and it is like the purest distillation
Mhm.
of like just feel good time pop,
Yeah.
and I'm like okay, like, and I'm into it, like you know. Yeah, well done pop is well
Yeah.
done,
Well
and
done
it's
pop
like
is well
that
done.
that song for
For
me
sure.
is like the perfect pop song. So I mean,
Mhm.
yeah. So it's like, yeah, I don't know. I've got like that like most of my library, there's a lot of like, third wave ska and a lot of like punk and
Okay.
early emo and then, some hardcore, a good chunk of metal in there, and then like Johnny Cash and stuff like that.
Yep.
So it's like I've got like a very like, middle-aged white dude who grew up in the 90s, 80s and 90s like library. And then it's like, yeah, and you'll see like, like I
Mhm.
said, Shake It Off. Yeah. Um but yeah, so like I said, I don't feel guilty about it at all. I'm just saying like it's a bit of a curveball. So
Yeah.
and anything by the Bare Naked Ladies.
And of course. Uh, and I agree for the most part, I don't have like, I wouldn't call it a guilty pleasure. It
Yeah.
just very much
Yeah.
surprises me when I enjoy some of these things. Like, electronic music is not something that I ever thought that I would enjoy. And so when something like gets under my skin and I'm like, "Oh, I really like this." It's very surprising. Like, it's yeah, one of my favorite albums, and it's just like, why? I don't know,
So,
there's something
Turkey,
about it.
you have
So,
that was an excellent inaugural
that
question.
was a good question.
Um, and we will continue the quest for more questions. Um, we will continue questing for
Mhm.
questions. So, keep submitting those, email them to us and all that stuff, guys.
I like it.
Um, and we'll get you all that information here in a minute. But one of the other things we're going to start doing here is, well, actually, you know what? I'll tie this to the shout out. So, we, as we have been for a while, we like to give shout outs. I have one. I don't know if Josh has one, but and then I'll tie another little bit to it. But um John, our buddy John O'Spark, posted something, and I forget what channel it was in, but about, was it in Good Things? It's probably Good Things,
I
about
think it was good things, yeah.
writing as a spiritual discipline. It's a little article, like 5 minutes to read. And just kind of one of those things that hit me, and I was thinking about it, and it's actually sort of, and so, wanted to give a shout out to John for, just as always, sort of, he's usually good for like something interesting to read, or, he's doing his Draconian Dragon Quest 11 run right now, and that's always like, that's going on in the Discord. So he's always
Yeah.
sort of a, he's always giving us plenty of good content in the Discord. He does a lot of really cool stuff there, and so just wanted to give him a little bit of shout out, and sort of spinning off into the next little segment. So it's just something that we used to do. It's when we first started the podcast. I'd probably say in the first 3 or 4, 5 episodes, we tried to sort of end each episode with a bit of a challenge, or sort of to each other. And so I think it initially sort of started out with like memorizing scripture or whatever, but I thought it might be interesting and a good place to say, like, okay, like, we record every 2 weeks. What is one small actionable thing that we can sort of say, like, hey, you know what, for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to try to be like really intentional about doing this small thing every day, or, just a small habit or a small sort of discipline to engage in. It's going to change from time to time. Some weeks it might be like, because, I'm starting to get fat again, so I'll probably start talking about like counting calories again. But the one, yeah, I stress eat, and then I got lazy, and yeah, so I'm getting a little heavy again, and I need to shed some of that weight. But based on John's recommendation of that article, I read the article, and it really reminded me. I used to do a lot of journaling, and so the one sort of personal challenge, the one sort of actionable thing that I'm going to sort of like try and lean into is, for the next 2 weeks, I would like to every day spend at least 10-15 minutes like meditating on the passage and journaling through it and writing down a prayer. Um, so that's sort of like for the next 2 weeks. And so when we fire up next need to talk pretty someday, but when we fire up next episode, I'll hopefully be able to give you guys a little bit of a positive update on that. So what about you, Josh?
Yeah. That's awesome. And when you told me kind of in our pre-show, what you had in mind, I was like, that is fantastic. And actually that's something that I ought to be doing, that I know is beneficial, that has kind of like fallen by the wayside. So I may like pick up on that as well. Like what came to mind when you had mentioned it, for me, is because I'm pretty focused on physical health right now, is to track, like, to drink a gallon of water a day. And I know that's something like super simple and like kind of like just I don't know.
No,
I
but
felt like, oh
that's the
man,
point.
that's not. You're talking about
But that's the
journaling
point.
like a
It's something
spiritual
small and
discipline.
actionable. So, like,
Um,
drinking a gallon of water,
so
dude, like, and I don't think too, like, we can't, like, I want I want us to be able to, like, do stuff like that just as much, because, like, the thing is, like, it's a whole bodied approach.
mhm,
So it's like, there are times where maybe physically
yeah,
you need to discipline
yeah,
yourself a little bit more, or maybe spiritually you need to discipline yourself, or emotionally, or whatever.
mhm,
Or like sometimes the challenge might be like, hey, for the next 2 weeks, I'm not going to play. I'm going to limit myself to 4 hours a week of video game time, or or screen time, or whatever.
mhm,
So it's like,
yeah,
I think, like, dude saying like, hey, I'm going to try to drink a gallon of water a day for the next 2 weeks. It's like it's about like cultivating those little habits and like sort of like getting the ball rolling. And so like dude, yeah, don't be ashamed. Yeah.
Sweet. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. The thing is that, like, I have been, going a bit harder on, like, physical stuff, but one thing that I implemented, and I talked about this in the bite size that I did, is that one way to help me is that I've been drinking a lot of like diet or sugar free sodas, which have little to no calories in them. But I think that has taken away because generally I do drink a good amount of water, but that's kind of taken away my water intake because instead of water, because I can get free drinks at
Mhm.
Panera because of the specials that they're running, and there's a Panera Bread very close to where I work, so I can just leave for 5 minutes and go grab a big old cup of diet soda, and
Mhm.
I've used it more as a crutch lately, and because it has caffeine, it helps me feel better too. So it was just hitting me like, yeah, I should probably start drinking more water. That way I'm a bit more full. I don't eat quite as much as I would, like there are multiple benefits to focusing more on water, which again, I've generally done, but I've just recently been shifting more towards diet sodas. It's like,
Mhm.
yeah, you should go back to water.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, dude. Good. I mean, I do
that's where I'm at.
I'm guilty of the same thing. Like I keep a bunch of Coke Zeros in the fridge, and a lot of times like Coke Zero, man.
Yes.
Uh
Yes, Coke
I
Zero,
actually
man.
managed to
I'm on that
score a
stuff
12
too.
pack of this. It's Mountain Dew Major Melon, but I got the zero sugar recipe and I like that. And
Okay.
so I've been cracking a
Yeah,
couple. But yeah, Dr. Pepper zero sugar is also really good. Um
it
yeah.
is. That's mainly what I've been drinking. But then Panera also has Diet Pepsi. But Sonic has Coke Zero, and so I do that when I do my secret shops at Sonic. But anyways, that's neither
Yeah,
here
but
nor
you need
there.
need to drink more
There's just
water
been
and
more
like
soda
soda's fine,
intake.
especially if it's the zero sugar, zero
I need
calorie
more
stuff.
water.
Like it's fine. But
Right.
don't yeah. But oh, yeah.
It shouldn't
So I'm gonna
replace
try and
water.
journal,
Yes,
you
exactly.
know, a little bit more intentionally over the next couple weeks. You're gonna try to be more intentional about the water you drink. And I think with all of that
It's
being done,
true.
we have done all the things. Like we have all the forms have been observed,
Mhm.
all the segments. Oh,
Oh, almost all the forms have been observed, but if you guys have other challenges that you want us to, like, help you to stay accountable with, there's tons of ways that you can reach us. Our Twitter is at @bbdowncast. You can email us at thebacklogbreakdown@gmail.com. We do have a Discord server, and the link for that is in the description of this podcast episode. And then we also have the Facebook
mhm.
group, the hashtag Backlog Book Club, that you can interact with us there as well. We can keep each other account. We can see midweek, hey, how you doing? You drinking water? Or you just drinking soda? I don't know. Are you
You can
journaling?
also
Because that's a
use
good
that to
discipline
submit
to have.
your
There are
your
things like that.
questions. So, and get after that $5.
Question of the week, if you have,
There's the
hey,
carrot.
it's
Get it.
there. There's the carrot.
Okay, so
Go
we
after it.
now have we observed all the forms. Well, we haven't done they can find you
I think we've
personally if
observed
they're
them.
trying to get a hold of you. How can they find you? Where can they
Oh,
find you?
that's true. Generally, if not my name, I go by Broccolope on the internet.
Nate
Brocolope.
underscore
And Nate
McKeever.
goes by,
Pretty much in all the places.
there you go. Now that we have observed all the things,
And we
we've seen
have
them, observed them.
yes. I was gonna say something and then my brain just went um but yeah, so we've done all
Ew.
the things we came here to do tonight. And with that, folks, yeah, I think Josh, it's time to sort of let them go. And in the meantime, we're gonna get going here, but in the meantime, what should they do?
Mhm. Guys, keep beating down your backlogs, and we'll keep breaking down the
Yeah, sounds
benefits.
about right. Do it. Haha.
Do it.
Oh man.
Do it.
So
Do
I
it.
can like do like a 15-minute
Do it.
bro hang.
Okay.
And you know what I was thinking
Okay.
too, and
Totally
maybe
up to you.
I mean,
What you want to
just
do.
give them the episode uncut.
Yeah.
So, but I was just like, they have all that stuff in the middle, and then a little bit of a
Right.
pre-show. So,
It's true.
um, but yeah, do
Yep.
we want to do another
Okay.
episode or just jump right
Okay.
into it? It's up to you.
No, if it's gonna
Okay.
be 15 minutes, no. Let's
No,
just keep going.
no.
Unless you need to stop, then I'd say roll right through. Okay. Um, so my favorite band,
Mm-hmm.
Coheed and Cambria, they just put out a new album. I really enjoy it. It uses a lot of pop elements. They're kind of like a prog rock band. Um, and I really enjoy that side of them, but it uses some pop elements. There's one with a straight up like disco beat in one of the songs that I'm just like, this does not sound like the band at all, but I've
Dude,
come to really enjoy it. It's weird. I don't know. It's only been out
have
for a
you
few
ever
days, but
okay,
I'm
have you ever
digging it.
listened to
What's
Kiss
that?
at all?
I've heard a
Okay.
handful of
Yeah,
songs.
no,
I
and it's
should be
fine.
more
Like
familiar
Kiss is
with
like
them,
one of
but
those
I'm
bands
not.
that I kind of like, I'm like some of they've got some like, dude. Anyways, yeah.
They're so iconic though. Like, I feel like I should
Oh,
know a lot
dude.
more. Don't they have
Yeah,
like a
and
dozen
like they,
albums? I
yeah,
don't know. I've heard
and
like
but
3 or
there's
4 songs.
out of all that stuff, it's like there might be there's a lot of they've got some bangers, but there one of my favorite songs by Kiss is
Mhm.
actually uses like a disco beat, and it's called "I Was Made for Loving You." And it's like, I was made for
Okay.
loving you, baby.
Okay.
You
That
were
sounds
made for
familiar.
loving me. I can't get enough of you. But it's like got like this real like disco sort of like flair. And it's just it's like it might be my favorite Kiss song. It's like
Yeah.
I'm not like a
Yeah.
Kiss mega fan. I mean
Mhm.
it was like that was like one of those bands that like my mom and dad were like, I was like, what's that? And they're like, that's Satan, kind of stuff. But
Well, yeah, that's the crazy thing about it is like them and even Black Sabbath, as much as I like respect Black Sabbath, it's like they seem so like dark and heavy by the image that they project. And then you listen to it and it's like,
yeah,
oh, this is kind of
well,
just like rock, like it's or in the case of Kiss, it's like rock. It's
dude,
almost like
I
not even alternative. Like it's
I'm
very
yeah, it's
standard,
just
kind of
arena
just like
rock. It's just like,
arena
but like
rock.
the whole
Oh,
the whole
you
like
just put
paint
on
and
face
everything
makeup.
else was just really meant to like for the shock factor, and it was like,
Mhm.
and the more parents hated it, the more kids loved it, and it was just like,
Yeah. Yeah. It's just that when I see that
mhm,
and it's totally because of the times, like if I were born earlier, 30 years earlier, I would probably think that. But like now I associate that face paint with like the
like black metal and stuff.
blast beats. Yes, exactly. And so you listen to it and it's just like school's out for
Yep,
summer, and it's just like,
yep,
oh, okay. Like cool. Yeah,
yeah,
it's not what you expect, but yeah, that song is called I think A Disappearing Act or The Disappearing Act by Coheed and Cambria if you want to check it out. It sounds like a very modern
like
pop
disco
song with a
sucks,
disco beat
but
to it, which is like
like
yes.
occasionally, like, dude,
Yes, I
there's a few
agree.
like ABBA songs that like I'm into, like Dancing Queen. Like who hates Dancing Queen?
Mhm.
Like, dude, like it's like it's like one of those things that like yes, but like if you're out on the dance floor, like, and I'm not a huge dancer, and Dancing Queen pops on, like,
It's
and you don't move your feet at least a little bit, like you are a soulless automaton.
Yeah, it's almost like at the point where it's so over the top cheesy that, like, you have to
Mhm.
enjoy it tongue in cheek. Like,
You're
if
just being
if you're not,
a dink,
you're just
yeah.
being
You're
a
just
a turd. Yes, yeah, exactly,
No, no,
exactly, like, of course, it's not a
no one's
good
like, "Oh,
song.
this
No
is
one
like the
thinks
song
it's
of
a
my life," but
good
it's
song. It's
fun.
just like
It's trashy pop. Like,
right.
just calm down,
Yeah.
get over yourself. Dude, but I will say, like, I
Yes.
listened to Waterloo.
Yes.
Um, Waterloo is a freaking
Yeah. Mhm.
earworm, and it's like you wanna talk about, like, perfect pop song kinda stuff, like, it's just, like, in my head and lives there rent free for a while.
That one's interesting because
Yeah.
it's also pretty complex musically. So, like, it yeah, yeah, that one's cool. I can
No,
respect
Dancing
that
Queen
one,
is just
like, more than Dancing Queen.
Dancing Queen is like "Shake It Off" by,
But
like, Taylor Swift. It's just
yeah,
like
it's a
it's a great pop song. Just, like,
right.
dance, have fun with it, and just,
Yes.
like, this is
Yeah.
not, like, a life anthem or anything. Dude, like, I was, I kinda wanna watch that, uh, Queen documentary, or not documentary, but, movie. Bohemian Rhapsody.
Dude, yeah, was
No,
it Bohemian Rhapsody? Yeah, you
I
haven't seen
love
it? It's great. It's it's not,
oh, yeah.
like, half the movie is made up. It's not really what happened between them, but it's a great
Dude, and
movie.
I
I
kind
yeah,
of
I would
love
highly
Queen,
recommend it.
like, I
It's
came
really
like,
good.
see, I came to a lot of, like,
Okay.
older rock later, like, I was mid-20s when
Mhm.
I came in,
Yes.
and
Mhm.
as much as I kind of, like, hate Rush because of, Ernest Cline, um, no no no, but, like,
Oh,
Tom Sawyer is,
oh,
like,
no.
no. No,
He's not
no,
strong
but
enough
it was like
to tarnish Rush.
Rush is
Come
actually
on.
pretty
Rush is
legit,
too good for that.
I have a few Rush albums that, but yeah, it's like I came to, sort of, like, the older rock, when I was in high school, it was all about, like, alt rock and punk and third wave ska, and then I got a little bit into
Yeah.
hardcore and emo for a little bit,
Okay.
and then
Mhm.
music stopped meaning, like, for me, I mean, I still like music, right? And there was, like, a whole lot of, like, stuff that was on the radio, like Dave Matthews Band's
Mhm.
Crash album was, that was kind of like a formative
Mhm.
album, even though I low key hate Dave Matthews
Okay.
now. And it's like all my friends were listening to it and I listened to it and I was like, "Yo, this is like,
Gotcha.
it's like one of those albums that's like sort of stuck, because everybody listened to it." But yeah,
Mhm.
like Dave Matthews kind of sucks. I'd fight him if I could. Um,
It just makes me think my uncle really liked Dave Matthews, and he got me into a bunch of different, bands and different styles of music, but, anytime anyone mentions Dave Matthews, it just reminds me of Parks and Rec where,
mm,
Andy right? Andy? Yeah, Chris Pratt, um, like, he meets that other the Hispanic guy, I don't remember his name, and he's like, "Dave Matthews, crash into me!" And they wanna, like, start a band together.
I
Oh, that's
out
hilarious.
of that
Anyways,
era, I
"Crash into
actually,
me."
in hindsight, I
But
still listen to the Traveler album with, like, Hook. That's a great one.
okay.
Mm.
Yeah. Mhm.
Mm,
Yeah. Yeah. Man, oh, man. Okay, so
yeah.
I bring up this Coheed album. One is just a recommendation. I love it. It's great because they do these pop songs. They use these pop elements. They use the auto tune on the vocals in a few songs where this dude does not need
Mm.
auto tune. He's using it as an effect because like this is like their 10th album. They've put out a ton of music, and it's all I love it
Coheed is
all.
kind of
I'm
like
the
emo
fanboy, so
prog,
I'm gonna
right?
go see him next month.
It's
It's gonna be great. But
okay.
yes, yes,
So
yes.
that's like your 2 favorite
But anyways,
things
I
in
bring
one
this up.
band. Yeah. So, yeah, that's
Yeah, and all of their albums, all except one, have been a part of this grand like sci-fi epic.
oh,
So
dude.
they're all
It's
like
like
rock
that's like
operas.
some Dream
Like they're
Theater
all part
nonsense.
of it. Yes, exactly.
Alright, alright.
Yes. Yes, yeah. It's not as complex as Dream Theater. Dream Theater is like, yeah, way up. Dream Theater is one of those bands where it's like I can listen to 4 songs and then I'm just totally lost. I don't know what they're doing. It sounds like they're just jamming. I know there's a method to this madness, but it is all over the place. And so I really respect Dream Theater while I haven't listened to enough of their music. Um, Coheed, though, is more like grounded in pop melodies. Like they can actually like hook you with things, I would say, more so than Dream Theater. Dream Theater is more like pushed forward by metal, you know? So, anyways, so I bring up this album. I think it's great. I would recommend it. But I was listening to it earlier today, and then after I was listening to it on Amazon Music because I have a free trial of that because I bought something on Amazon. They were like, "Hey, have three months for free." And my wife uses our Spotify account at home with the kids, so I
Mhm.
don't want to pull away from that to listen to it at work. Like, whatever. So I'm listening to this on Amazon. And so after it plays this album, it goes to like the radio station for Coheed, so it plays other songs that you might like if you like Coheed. And there was this band that played that I've heard of this band. The band is called Parkway Drive, and they are a metalcore band. So it's like in metalcore was something I was super into in high school around that time when I was like super into like music in general, like listening to all kinds of different stuff. And I would gravitate towards that heavy stuff. Not like super
Okay.
screamy, but occasionally screamy stuff. And but they put out a new single. I was never into this band in particular. They were kind of like they came later from when I was listening to the music. But I'd always heard really good things about them. And this is their latest single, and it was playing. And about a minute in, and this is on like a different browser tab. I don't even know who's playing. But about a minute in, I'm like, this is terrible. Like this is one of the worst songs I've heard in a long. This is so like cookie cutter, just like really boilerplate garbage. Like what is going on? So if you can, I would like you to pull this up. I know this is super cheesy to do like a reaction video, but Parkway Drive, this song is called Glitch. And I would like to get some confirmation that I'm not absolutely insane. Here, I just pulled it up on YouTube because I was just like this, and there's an F bomb in the bridge. You don't have to listen to all of that, but I was just like, this is so like basic, if that makes sense, like basic chugga chugga chugga, and the vocals are so bad. It's like, is this? I can't tell if it's a joke
Parkway Drive. What's the song
because
called?
of how bad it was.
Okay, it was the first.
It's
All
called
right. Well,
Glitch. And I don't know if I'm insane, but I was just like, oh my goodness, like I'm gonna listen to my Coheed album again because this
all
is
right.
ridiculously
Let me
bad.
skip some commercials here.
Okay. Okay. And I apologize in advance for all of you listening on the podcast. This isn't the best.
So,
This isn't the
if you
best,
guys want to cue this
podcast
up,
thing ever, but this
it's
was literally
starting like
earlier
right
today.
now, and
There we go. And just see what you think of Glitch by Parkway Drive, which apparently sounds different than their other material. Okay, to be fair, but this was my first interaction with the band, and I'm just like, what is going on?
I mean, it's just pretty generic.
Oh, yes. Oh. Like, am I crazy? Is this not like some of the worst
It's
stuff
like
you've ever heard?
it's like how can we sound like Linkin Park but really bad?
It's like Linkin Park, but it's also it reminds me of what's that
Oh,
band who did
Danzig
Du Hast?
or
That German band.
uh who was that?
No, not uh
KMFDM?
oh my gosh. I should know this. Uh
Oh, that yeah, yeah, yeah.
no, Rammstein. Ram Yeah. It's kind of like that, but
Dude, he's
like
just like
more
dude, when he
generic
started and then
than that. Like
the vocals were just like so
so bad. So bad. And then like I I'm not saying you have to listen to the bridge, but even the bridge is like the most generic like buildup of like jigadun 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 jigadun. I can't fucking hear you or something like that. Like he just drops the F bomb and it sounds like the most boilerplate like edgy 13-year-old lyric from like this
like
terrible vocalist. And I say
the
that
rest like the
maybe he
instrumentals
does
aren't
better
bad,
vocals in
but
other
it's his
things,
vocals
but this is
actually
so
sort of
bad. It's almost
it's like
funny.
their music's like fine. Yeah, it's like pretty like boilerplate. But his vocals are just kind of like
Yes. Yeah,
ah.
it's just like did you make it to the bridge?
Dude, it kind of
Like the buildup?
he's like it kind of for a minute sounded like he was a little constipated or something.
Yeah.
And then he's like thrashing around like some mosh pit dancing. Like, because I'm watching the video and I'm just like, I'm like,
Okay. Oh, no. I didn't
it's
watch the video. Oh my
it's
gosh, this is hilarious.
it's pretty corny.
Oh, no. It's oh my gosh. It's exactly what you would think, like, this style of and so, I'm sure you guys will already be able to tell, brochachos, I am gonna go ahead and just throw this music into the back of this so that it's not just blank in the background, so you will be able to hear. I will torture
That
your ear
was
holes with some of
that's
this
a
stuff.
move.
Um,
Um,
but The seriously, this is, like, one of the worst songs I've heard in a long time. Worst because and I'm not saying, like, it actively makes me wanna vomit.
yeah,
It's just, like, this is the most generic thing I have ever heard from again, a band that I have heard is actually really
it
good,
just
so I'm
it
sure
just
their
sounds like
older
they didn't
albums are
have
actually much
like
better than
I
this.
was listening to it and I was like, this is just yeah, it's just like generic hard rock.
Yeah, like, you pulled up a computer program and typed in hard rock, alternative rock station,
Dude, it is
butt
that is
rock,
peak butt
and it was
rock.
like, this is what
Yeah.
it spat out.
With but it's not even like
Yeah, except with some
not good
growling
growling.
vocals,
Like
but also the vocal right. It sounds like he would be better if he
it
was
almost sounds like
screaming,
he
but
I
he's,
don't
like,
know.
holding back
Yeah, he's
almost,
and it
so, like,
is
he's
like
trying
it
to
he ends
talk
up
like
just sounding
that?
kinda constipated in some of it. Like, he's like it's like he can tell, like, maybe he's got, like, some, like, vocal cord damage or something that prevents
Oh.
him from screaming. Because like, that's the thing with, like,
Yeah,
with a lot of, like, the hardcore and post, post-punk and all that stuff, like, those
yeah,
guys have to learn how to scream,
yeah,
and the ones who don't actually
right.
end up destroying their vocal cords. Um, I actually
Yep,
at camp
Yep.
managed to give myself I
That
was screaming a lot and managed to give myself a sore throat. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
And
That's
then
what
I
happens
was
at
just
camp.
talking like I smoked a pack of
Mhm.
cigarettes a day for the last 20 years. Um,
Mhm. Yep. Yep. Ollie was in a camp this week, like a day camp kind of a thing, and like even after the first day, you could tell like the
oh
way that
yeah.
he was talking. I mean, he was worn out in general,
Yo,
but you could tell by
so
the way he was
funny
talking
camp
that
story.
like he'd been yelling a
Since
lot.
we
It's
are
just how
on
it goes.
camp, right? And I
Mhm.
so like there was a whole lot of stuff. Like I ended up sort of taking on the persona of like like a like a wrestling heel. Um yeah. So because like in each
Okay.
so when you get there, the camp they divide the campers up not by cabin, but by tribes. And so there's the prophets, priests, kings, and judges. And then they score
Okay.
points and they have sort of like, and then the staff is like the apostles, the fifth tribe, the apostles. And so there's a tribe
Okay.
chief, right? Who is sort of like, then there, who is the tribe leader. Then there's the tribe Sagamore, which is like a senior tribe, like sort of like it's a senior high student, they're like the second in command. And there's the Saga Les, which is like a junior high or a junior, not a junior camper, who's like sort of like a youth leader kind of thing. And it's all mostly just nonsensical. It doesn't really have much of a bearing for anything. But when staff, so the staff has a chief, a Sagamore, and a Saglass. And when we got there, um, they're like, "You want to be the chief?" And I was like, uh, uh, I don't know what I'm doing, but sure, I guess. It's like, what do I have to do? They're like, not much. And then for some reason, I just like threw myself into it, and I just was like at the campfires and stuff. Like I would like go on and be like talk about the supremacy of the, and it would like like channeling a little bit like Macho Man Randy Savage, kind of like the supremacy of the apostles,
Yes.
the only tribe that never like we always win, and just like it'd just be ridiculous. Um, at one point in time, like our tribe colors
Mhm.
were orange, and they gave me this like giant piece of like orange cloth that I was supposed to cut strips out and stuff. Ended up just like turning it into a cape, and just wearing. um, yeah, it was just super ridiculous. But
Nice.
anyways, me and one of the other male counselors would get like during sort of activities, we would go out to there were some athletic fields, like a couple soccer fields, football fields, kind of things, and we would usually go out there and like did like touch football, ultimate frisbee, soccer, all sorts of stuff out there. And like I said, I've been yelling like all week. It's like Thursday or Friday. No, it was Thursday. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It was like Wednesday, but I've been yelling for like 2 or 3 days straight, and just like, and you just like, I'm getting out there and like the kids are
Right.
playing. And so it's like, I'm like, I'm screaming the whole time. And when your voice starts to get like hoarse, like you'll
Yep.
honk, like you no longer scream or yell, you kind of honk. And so there's a bunch of like teenage girls sitting behind me, and they had come through, and they were sort of saying something, and I just sort of I said hello, and then it was kind of like one of those weird. They're teenage girls. They're the worst. Um, like they're like at peak mean girl, right? Um, anyways,
Gotcha.
and it's like, so I'm yelling and I'm, telling the kids to score or something, and the girls, and I honk, and the one girl does it, and I just turn, and I was like, I wasn't that far away, and I turned around
Mhm.
and said, I'm not deaf. That's all I said, and I said it loud enough, and I just looked at them, and you could visibly from where
Mhm.
I was sitting, I watched the color drain from all three of these teenage girls. The one came up to me bawling later. She's like, "I'm so sorry, I didn't mean it." And I was like, "Did I embarrass you?" She's
Oh.
like, "No, I embarrassed myself." And I said, "Young lady, that is a very good answer." I said, "Yes, you did." And I said, I said, I was feeling a little prickly. I may not have reacted the way I should have. I said, but you were being very unkind in that moment. And I said, and if I wasn't a little thicker skinned, I might have been hurt. I said, but you're, and I didn't say this to her, but it was like in my head, I'm going, you're a dumb teenage girl who doesn't know any better. I said, in the future, I said, I would just encourage you to maybe consider kindness. And, and it's not about like things are funny. And I said, it's fine to laugh at funny things. Make sure you're laughing with people and not at them. And so it was like a very teachable moment, but she was absolutely devastated. Like, cause she got called
Mhm.
out. Like,
Mhm.
and I had to go to her
Right.
cabin counselor
Yeah.
later, and I was like, I had a conversation with one of your girls. She was like, yeah, I heard. She's like, we talked about it for a while. She's like, good. She's like, some of these kids like they think they can get away with being petty and nasty. And that was like sort of my thing where it's like, I looked at a couple and said, I'm not putting up with your crap. Like, and some of these kids didn't know how to deal with that.
Yeah.
Like an adult who
Yeah.
was just like,
Right.
it's like, cause I
Yeah.
was like, down there on the ground level with them. And it was like, the, I had no problems like sort of horsing around, but like the minute like you go too far, it's like, I'm going to let you know about yourself. But yeah, it was like this one thing. I was like, oh, like
Yeah.
I felt so bad. Like, yeah, I was just like,
I just made a teenage girl
oh,
cry.
is this what my life has become? But
Oh. Well, I mean, like you said, it's a teachable moment, so
yeah,
actually
I
I
mean,
think
I
it's
wish
it's
I
turned
had
into something
probably
good.
handled it a little
So,
bit. I wish I had been a little kinder in that moment. Like
yeah.
but it was like I
Yeah.
said, I just looked at the three of them and I was like, I can hear you. I'm not deaf. And it was just like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I just kind of,
Yeah. That's
yeah. And then
that's
I let
good.
my boys do the Breaking
That's
Bad
good.
parody. And apparently, well, like so, and
Right?
this is one of the things like for the
Yeah,
patrons.
man, oh
So
man.
I was debriefing with my buddy. He was like, yeah, there were a few complaints. The one was like the last night. So Friday night is the last night of camp. They do the last campfire and they sort of do all the closing ceremony stuff. And then Saturday you get up, you clean up, and you basically leave. Um, and
Yep.
apparently they used to let the senior high kids stay up all night, and some of the counselors would stay up with them and stuff. And they just said, we're, that year
Mhm.
they were like, we're not doing this anymore. Well, apparently some of the senior high girls were like, their counselor let them said, you can't stay up all night in the cabin, but you can go into the bathroom. They ended up playing D&D uh, in the bathroom, which I'm like, yeah, that's a move. And
Okay.
like there were some parents who were
Interesting.
freaking out about the fact that these girls were playing D&D in the bathroom. And I'm like, how about like I'm more concerned about the fact that these girls were basically unattended for the entirety of the night. You know, that's what bothers me. It's like but and
Yeah.
I understand like there's you know because my buddy was talking to me about it, and I said, dude, I said, I've played D&D within the last couple of years. I said, I play it. I said, I enjoy it. And I said, like, is there danger there? There can be. Yeah, sure. For the wrong type of individual, this could be a problem. I said, but honestly, it's just a game. And it's playing make believe with some rules. I said,
Mhm.
like, I I said, like, it's not I said, I would not make that the big deal. I said, I would not allow that to become the big deal. I said, as much as somebody might want to make that the big deal, I said, like, what
Mhm.
I think the important thing there is just like these girls should not have been left alone. And it's like, yes, they're senior girls and stuff like that, but like they should like there was some other stuff. And it was like at the end of it, we were talking, and it's like even in talking about like
Okay.
the skit that I let those boys do, and I said like, listen, at some point in time, like these parents act like we're gonna like come in there and be the sim police, and we're going to like sort of address, and it's like that's not our job as camp counselors. Like it's like we sort of
Mhm.
we come in, we sort of explain and reaffirm the expectations with these kids. But like I said, like frankly, if kids are like if you've got a couple of teenagers who are hell bent on sinning, they're going to sin. Like that's all there is to it. And I said, like, do we make it
Mhm.
easy for them to do that? No. We place as many obstacles in the way as possible. I said, but like at the end of the day, like it just like, and what was frustrating too is because like a lot of these parents are freaking out, but it's like the policy for camp was like no phones, but then their kids were just like using them anyways. It's like I had to take, like, dude, I was so pissed. I had a
Oh.
kid that, and he wasn't one of mine, but he was this dude, just had his like, they knew the policy was like no phones out in the cafeteria. He's just like got his phone out and a bunch of them are sitting
Mhm.
around watching something. I was like, I rolled up on the table. I was like, dude, are you guys seriously this dumb? Like, and they're like, what? I was
Come
like, give me
on.
the phone. I was like, I said, or I said, like, cause that when I got there, they had already put it away and stuff. But it's like, you guys know you're not supposed to have this thing. Like, how stupid are you that
Mhm.
you have it out in public? How arrogant are you?
Mhm.
Like, come on. Like, and it's I wish I would have
Yeah.
had an opportunity to sit down with him because he just kind of walked off after he gave it to me, and I but I just want to look at these guys and like, what is wrong with you? Like that, like it's like
Mhm.
it's one thing. Like I have a little bit of respect. Like none of it's great, but like the kid who's at least like sort of like savvy enough to be like, you know what, I'll use it in my cabin, at night or whatever. Like at least that person is demonstrating some level of
Mhm.
forethought. But like they're just like lunchtime. Derp. Like are you an idiot? Like, yeah. This is not the kid that I had the conversation with about covenant theology. This is another dude. The other dude was an idiot.
Yeah.
The other kid, the covenant theology
There
kid was
you
like that
go.
was pretty legit. But and there was like a conversation too. So when the boys were doing their skit, um, they were gonna like make fun of a bunch of charismatics, and they started talking. And I was like, guys, I said like, and they
Okay.
they started talking, but like they didn't even understand what a charismatic was. Um, so I was like, dudes, I said, okay, like
Gotcha.
I said, like, here's the deal. I said, like, I came from outside of Presbyterianism and Reformdom. And I said, like, there are two things I want to sort of two challenges I want to throw out here. It was like, one, um, that even though I believe that Presbyterianism is the best understanding and application of the way church government works and the church should work, in my opinion and understanding, I said, like, you have a lot of brothers and sisters out there who would disagree with us on a number of issues, and they aren't violating, like, they're not heretics. And I said, and some of those people are charismatics, and some of those people
Mhm.
are Pentecostals. I said, and I said, frankly, you're going to find a lot of like, I said, like, oneness Pentecostalism is a different thing. That's actually heresy because they deny the Trinitarian nature of God. And I said, but I said, you're going to find a lot of people within Pentecostal movements who have a deep and zealous love for the Lord. And the way that they observe that is different. And what we say that's wrong. Yeah. I said, but like we could probably learn something from their fervor, from their ardor for God, And I said, so like, you know, some of it
Mhm.
is silly, like, being slain in the spirit. And I was explaining some of this stuff. I was like, they're like, and I was like, dude, like, so it's not just they do the shalala with the tongues and they believe in prophecy and they still try and wrongfully misapply or apply the gifts to the modern day believer. I said, they'll get slain in the spirit. And they're like, what? And I'm like, oh, they'll just fall over. Sometimes flop around a little bit, like they're having a seizure or something. Um, and I said, I said, like, what we need to remember is that even though we possess what we believe is proper doctrine, like sometimes our hearts are still wrong. And There are brothers and sisters that we can agree with and disagree with earnestly and honestly, who think that we're wrong, but we can still lock arms with them, and that's our brother and that's our sister, and we love them, and so like we be careful, and we be mindful because like dude, like these are a bunch of OPC
Mhm.
kids, and like I mean like they probably have some of those kids
Mhm.
were smart as whips, dude, and were raised in like they were raised in the covenant, and so like I mean they got it, but there was also, just like I said, there's also a lot of sort of like naivety, or naivete, where it's just like because they had sort
Yeah.
of lived within
Yeah.
these very sort of like cloistered environments that I'm like, dude, that's actually like at one point in time they were saying
Right.
something. I was like, that's actually not what those people believe. Like I can't remember. It might have been more of the
Mhm.
charismatic, stuff, but I was like, that's actually no, that's
Yeah.
inaccurate. And you would be demonstrating your own foolishness if you were to
Mhm.
sort of like, you know, but I don't know. Like it was cool. Camp was cool. I'm like I said,
Yeah.
really kind of looking forward to
Yeah.
doing it again. But I went over my 15 minutes. So,
That's awesome.
but that video was
Oh, yeah,
trash.
that's true, that's
Um,
true, yep, so you gotta go. It was trash. If you wanna watch more hilarious trash, I can't in good conscience recommend it, but
oh, did you see it?
the Beavis and Butthead movie,
Oh, dude.
it made me laugh quite a bit,
Oh, dude.
and I'm not a
I
fan of
watched
Beavis and
the trailer
Butthead,
and I want to watch it so bad because
but,
it just looks like, yeah, it looks like my kind of like dumb.
there the reason I bring it up is because you're the person who comes to mind, just because you're of that generation, I guess, who would get and the whole premise is that they're warped to 2022. That's kind of the thing. Um, and they go to a college campus to like a gender studies class. That's hilarious, that teach them about white privilege, and so they go around, like, cutting in line and just taking stuff from stores and stuff like that, and they're like, "We have white privilege. We didn't know about it. You must be uneducated."
What
It's
is
so
it? Is that
funny.
on Paramount? Oh
But
yeah,
I
dude.
cannot in good conscience recommend it,
That's I've been wanting to watch. I've
but it
been
was
like low
really
key
funny.
like seeing the trailers, and I'm like, I want
That's
to
all I can say.
watch this. Is that in Paramount Plus? Okay.
Um Paramount Plus, yes. Yeah, so that one I think was the 1-month trial that I got that you can get, because one of them, Peacock and Paramount Plus, I get them confused. One of them I got a trial
Okay.
through we have Spectrum Internet, and they do, like, 3 months for free, which was pretty awesome, but the other one had a 1-month trial that, like, you didn't have to be a part of anything. They're just like, "Hey, try it," and then, cancel if you want to. But,
So if you want
can't
to be
recommend
cool
it,
kids, watch the Beavis and Butthead movie.
but it was way funnier
Well,
than I thought,
dude,
because I've never
I
been
mean,
into Beavis and
it's Mike
Butthead,
Judge,
and it's really stupid, but my goodness, it's right, exactly, it's
dude.
almost, like,
Even
smart how
when it was on
stupid it
MTV,
is,
it was like one of
if
those
that
things
makes
where it's
sense.
dumb, but it's actually there's like a cleverness that sort of sits underneath the dick, the part of my language, the dick and
Clever,
fart
that's
jokes,
a
but
good
like
word.
there's like,
Yes. Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Well, the whole movie, they're trying to
You
score. Like, they
if you
think
need
they're
to,
gonna score with this
you can
lady,
bleep
and so,
out
like, the
my
whole movie is just them being
the when I said wiener and fart jokes. Brohang
oh, it's
guys, I'm
fine. I
sorry.
mean, I
Yes,
don't
I can be
care.
a little crass, but yeah, that's we're talking about Beavis and Butthead.
Well, I mean, we're
So,
talking about Beavis and Butthead, so
yeah, don't recommend it.
don't
It's
recommend
very
it,
much of like
but it
I'm
is
very
very
much of
funny.
that era. I remember being like 13 and like going over to like friends' houses and watching Beavis and Butthead and thinking like just breaking the law, and like
Turds.
I was thinking,
And with that, yes, dude, he pops like a ton of pills because this guy says to take them, but he means to hide them. And he like pops a ton of pills, and then he becomes
oh
Cornholio in
my.
this prison,
All right.
and it's so
Well,
funny.
so
He
all
needs.
of our patrons at this point
Okay,
in time
sorry,
are just
sorry, yeah,
sorely
sorry.
disappointed with us and our life choices.
Like, you were a cabin
Like,
counselor at an
look
OPC
how
camp. Oh
far
my
the
god,
OPC
yeah,
has fallen. Well, and it's like
yeah.
what was really
And I'm
funny,
preaching this
right?
Sunday, and
And
so
this
I'm the
is that when
degenerate.
those kids found out I was PCA, some of them actually looked at me like I was like a liberal, like like they were just like, yeah, pretty much.
You're the enemy.
Um, but it's actually something to like, and just sort of a final
Yeah.
thought on that, like going back to the camp thing. I'm really like trying to get more kids from our church
Mhm.
involved next year, if possible. And it's something that I'm in talking to Jared, I'm going to find ways to advocate for something like this in Presbytery. Like just look at him and say, like, listen, the OPC does something like this in Slippery Rock. It's awesome. I'm not saying that we need to do like exactly what they do, but this is a really cool thing, and we ought to consider doing something
Yeah.
similarly or similar. But uh, yeah, yeah, no, it was
Sweet.
it was good. It was
Challenge
super
number
good.
2. I love it.
I it was a balm for my dry soul. It was a very it was a much needed time of
Mm.
refreshment, and then I came back to the slough of despair. I no, I'm
Well,
I'm
I'm
glad to
I'm
be
happy to
back at
hear
home.
that
Oh,
it was good for you.
here's one for you too. Just and I know I keep saying, while we were gone at
Yeah.
camp, Nala got sprayed by a skunk. So our whole house just reeks
Oh.
of skunk, and it was like we've
Oh,
managed to kill most of
no.
it, but it's like
Oh.
it's still like there's just with they're living in the culvert out by the
Ugh.
street
Yeah.
in front of our house, and like we got to
No.
call the township and be like, you got to come remove these, or else I'm gonna like just pour a bunch of gas down the
Yes.
culvert and set it on fire.
Ugh.
And like then we can have a bunch of cooked skunk hanging
There
out in
you go.
the drainage ditch. But all
There
right,
you go.
yeah, for real.
Delicious.
15 minutes is way up.
Okay,
So,
15 minutes is up.
dude,
This was good. Great hang. I'm so glad to do this once again. I
yeah,
I
I was
missed
kind of
it.
like,
I missed it more than I thought I would miss it
it's
over
yeah.
the
I mean,
past
like I
month.
enjoyed my
So,
time at camp,
this was
but
good
like, yeah,
times.
dude. So next episode, Hades, right? Let's do it. All right,
Hey, let's do it. Yeah, sounds good, man.
later, kids.
All right. Have a good night. Get some rest. Peace.